A very warm afternoon to our Vice Chancellor Sir, CFO Sir, Ena Bose Ma'am, to all the distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, fellow participants and all the students. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the day 2 of the 3rd National Media Conclave 2024, jointly organized by the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication and Center for Corporate and Career Advancement Cell. I am Shemundi, your moderator for the day, and after the dynamic and engaging discussions of day 1, I know we all are looking forward to continue this journey of exploration and insight. Before we begin with the day 2 of the 3rd National Media Conclave, I'd like to shine a spotlight on some of the dynamic student clubs that have flourished in Sister Nivedita University. Firstly, the Mic Up Club, the theatre club, offers students a stage to unleash their creativity through drama, performance, building confidence and self-expression. Then the Lensmatic, our photography club, nurtures budding photographers, encouraging them to capture the world through a creative lens, refine their visual storytelling skills. Meanwhile, the Debate and the Quiz Club challenges students to think critically and communicate effectively. I'll request everyone to raise a round of applause for all the clubs that have flourished in the past years and will keep flourishing in the coming years. Now I'd like to invite our moderators to the stage, Mrs. Rituparna Shorkar, Head of the Department of Center for Corporate and Career Advancement Cell, and Mr. Shoykot Mojumdar, Professor of Mass Communication and Journalism Department. They'll guide us through further proceedings. Thank you.
A very good morning, and I think you all are refreshed after yesterday's presentations, and there has been a huge brainstorming so far yesterday's papers are concerned. So I welcome you all to today's session. I first would like to extend my gratitude to Honorable VC Sir for being present in today's session, Ina Ma'am, the dignitaries, my friends, colleagues, CFO Sir, dear students. Yesterday's session at the Conclave presented a wealth of intellectually stimulating ideas. With nearly 29 papers covering a wide range of contemporary media studies, these presentations sparked thoughtful reflection on emerging trends and critical directions in media communication. One key theme was the role of social media in shaping modern protests, with discussions on its restructuring of the public sphere and its potential for democratization, alongside the challenge it poses to traditional media paradigms. Another significant topic was media's role during the COVID-19 pandemic, where it acted as a knight, providing pivotal information and fostering public unity amidst uncertainty. Censorship was also explored from various perspectives, emphasizing the balance between freedom of expression and regulation in both authoritarian and democratic context. We examined global issues like the climate crisis and its portrayal in media, highlighting how media narratives intertwine with human emotions and influence public action. Equally enriching were discussions on local journalism's resilience, emphasizing its role as a key site of community engagement. Mental health narratives in media were also addressed, with a focus on their potential to stigmatize or support meaningful conversations about well-being. A unifying theme across sessions was the connection between current discourses and the future of media, encouraging critical thoughts on its evolving role in shaping society. As we move into today's session, we look forward to further engaging discussions that will continue to illuminate the complex relationship between media, society, and culture. I am Ritu Parna. I head the Center for Corporate and Career Advancement. Along with me is my colleague Shoykot, and we are your hosts for the day.
In fact, what Rituparna Madam has just said, that we have listened to a variety of papers, research papers yesterday. In fact, almost 27 papers were presented yesterday. So it's not possible to discuss about all the papers because we will look forward to today's session. But just a few examples that how much diverse topics have been touched in the first day itself. We have got papers like Media, the Night During COVID-19 Pandemic in India. We have papers like Communication, Media and Cultural Influence in the Realm of Modern Indian Art, the role of media in reviving field hockey in India, and so on. The future of social media in political campaigns, role of new media to wear the mask to fight against social injustice. So I suppose you can understand that such a diverse topics were touched in the by the researchers, the presenters, and as Rituparna was saying that we will look forward to more diverse papers in today's session and in tomorrow's session. So we all, I suppose, we are very privileged and honored to have the dignitaries here with us. We will listen to them also. And the researchers who have come, they will also be enriched, and of course, our dear students. So without wasting much more time, we should look forward to today's program, and let's start with the felicitation.
So in SNU, we always begin anything that is very welcoming, very warm, by felicitating the guests. So today's line of guests, I would definitely say, is very interesting. We will start with Ms. Anala Padmanabha. Can we have the...
Ma'am, we can give a two-line introduction of Madam, and then we'll have the AV.
All right. So Anala Padmanabha, currently at McKinsey, a consultant. She's a seasoned senior financial consultant with over 20 years of extensive experience in corporate finance, strategic management, and human capital management. Throughout her career, she has held leadership positions including vice president and director, where she has demonstrated her expertise in driving business growth, optimizing financial performance, and aligning human capital strategies with organizational goals. With a strong foundation in financial consulting and an education from Stanford University, Anala is known for her ability to provide strategic insights and solutions that enhance operational efficiency, foster sustainable growth, and strengthen workforce management across various sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause?
May we have our Honorable VC Sir on stage to honor Anala Madam.
Anala, can I have the pleasure of having you on stage? I take this moment to announce that Anala is transitioning in Mackenzie as a mentor. She is transitioning into that as a mentor. No more a director, she's transitioning into a mentor with Mackenzie only. And of course, I would take this opportunity to mention that she has been a long-time friend of mine. I'm so glad that I know her. Thank you, Anala. Yeah. Next in line, Ms. Kajori Sen. She's an accomplished media professional and academic, currently serving as an associate professor at the Media and Communication School of O.P. Jindal University. With a rich background in journalism, she has worked at renowned media organizations, including NDTV and Network 18. Her experience in the field provides her students with valuable insight into the evolving landscape of media and communication. Through her teaching, she blends theoretical knowledge with practical expertise, nurturing the next generation of media professionals.
Can you have the AV, please? May I request Madam Ina Bose, Director, Industrial Relations and Center for Entrepreneurship and Development, to come on stage to honor Kajori.
Kajori, may we please invite you on stage? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Kajori.
We also have the honor to have with us our session chairs and moderators. We would like to felicitate them one by one. We have with us Dr. Rajesh Das, a senior media educator, professor of Bardhaman University, Mass Communication and Journalism Department. Can we have Dr. Rajesh Das on stage, please? And I would like to call VC sir once more to honor Rajesh Das.
Next, we have with us Dr. Reshmi Noskar.
She is also a media educator, and presently she is an assistant professor in St. Xavier's University, Kolkata, as a professor journalism and mass communication department. Can we have the AV? It's not working. Okay. Can we have our CFO, sir, CFO Mr. Shubir Rokhit, sir, on stage, please, to felicitate Dr. Reshmi Noskar. Thank you, CFO, sir. Thank you, Reshmi, for being with us. Now, with the formal inauguration being done, we will move to the plenary session. And to introduce the plenary session, I would like to toss it over to my co-anchor, Rituparna madam.
Thank you, Shoika. Can we have this? Yeah.
Just a moment's interruption. Volunteers, can you take Reshmi ma'am to the boardroom for the paper presentation? Yes. And students, please give a warm round of applause because today is Ina ma'am's birthday. She's here. And thank you, ma'am. And another, yeah. And another set of volunteers, please take Moni Kinkini ma'am to the placement cell boardroom where she has the other session. So the presenters who are going to the placement cell boardroom, please move on. Moni, Rituparna ma'am's things will be last. Please. Sorry for the interruption, Rituparna ma'am.
Thank you, Arindam sir. Okay. So, may I request the students to Shoikat sir, the stage. Okay, so before we go ahead, I would like to just mention that today's plenary session, I find the topic very interesting and relevant so far the times that we live in is concerned. Today's topic is social media and the isolation syndrome. See, social media is something which probably should bring all of us together. We all have hundreds and thousands of friends, maybe on Facebook and all the other social media platforms. But what about friends in real life? How many do we have? How many can we connect with when we need to talk to somebody or we want to share? So I was very delighted when Arindam sir told me that, Rituparna, this is your topic and you will be moderating this session. And well, I was overjoyed. And we have right now two experts who can really throw a lot of light so far this particular topic is concerned. So, welcome to today's plenary session where we will be exploring a topic that has become increasingly relevant in our digitally connected world, the relationship between social media and isolation. Social media platforms have transformed how we communicate, share experiences, and build relationships. With just a few taps on our phone, we can stay connected with friends, family, and even strangers from across the globe. However, amid all this connectivity, many are asking, why do feelings of loneliness and isolation seem to be on the rise? How is it possible that we are more connected than ever? Yet many individuals still report feeling more disconnected. This session will dive into the paradoxical nature of social media, how it fosters both connection and isolation. We'll discuss the psychological impacts, how social media affects our sense of self and community, and whether certain online behaviors might exacerbate feelings of loneliness. Our goal today is to critically examine how social media is shaping our social interaction, mental well-being, and the structure of our relationships. We'll also look at ways to foster more meaningful connections online and mitigate the isolating effects that can arise from overuse or misuse of these platforms. We are fortunate to have some insightful speakers and panelists with us who will share their research, experiences, and perspectives on these complex issues. Thank you for being there. May I please request Anala and Kajori to please come up and take the stage. We would need two mics.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Yes. Yes, yes. You want to say? Yeah, okay. Okay. Anala, let's begin with you.
Okay. Yeah. Um, a very good afternoon to everyone present here. I'm sure this is one of those burning questions people usually ask. And I don't think we've got a valid response so far. I mean, with Gen Zs and millennials and what are they called? The latest, the alpha sigmas up and running in the society. People just wonder, what are the key takeaways for social media? Well, I'd like to speak both ends of the spectrum because I feel it's relevant for people to know what's happening. Before we dwell deeper into what's happening, let me just give you a few statistics that we have understood over these many years. I think today's youth would be terribly interested in this. The world's suicide rates is gone up as high as 27%. The world suicide rate, which was about single digit, about 9 or 10% worldwide. Today we have a worldwide suicide rate of exceeding 30%. and that is between the age group of 19 to 35. This is the age group of people who are committing suicides. And the second thing is the social media interaction has gone up terribly. Social media crimes have increased by 76%. Social media bullying is increased by 48%. Contents that are meaningless have gone up by God knows how many percent. The question that we really need to ask is, do we live in a bubble? You know, sometimes social media validation becomes so important to generation by and large today. What is this validation we are seeking for? You dwell deeper into the validation bit of it, because every time somebody takes out a camera, for instance, or a mobile phone camera, whatever may be the case, to take a picture, the first thing you say is, say cheese or smile. Are you in any position to smile? Do you really feel happy about what you're doing? These are some of the questions people ask, especially behavioral psychologists. You know, people ask, are you really happy about taking these pictures? You know, there are many people who've gone to take selfies and killed themselves as well. Now, you need to ask yourself, what kind of validation are we looking for from people we hardly know? Because we have I'm not blaming social media for it, because I think social media has done exceptional work so far. But what one needs to ask is, how do you validate yourself without any accomplishments, without any value systems, without a cultural substantiation, randomly going on a page, which is going to be a World Wide Web, where people have access to information. The information is stored forever, by the way, it's not deleted. Because technology is going from SAP-based to SaaS-based to AI to God knows where all. With all this technology going, your comments, your life, your history, the way you think and feel about a political situation, economical situation, social situation, cultural situation, it's just creating huge amount of data for people like us, I'll be brutally honest. And we build businesses for you, which is eventually going to destroy you over a period of time. Yeah, this is exactly what is happening, isn't it? Because there is no digital discipline of any sort. You look at any YouTube channels, you look at any social media channels or anywhere, people randomly, irresponsibly write their comments. And some comments are extremely derogatory. It's so derogatory you begin to wonder whether this really makes any sense. It's out of context at times. And you begin to wonder whether this is shaping today's thought process. You know, as a corporate person, I'd like to give you a few things. When we really want to hire somebody into an organization, per se, we always check your social media accounts. We're very interested in checking your social media accounts. Why is that? Well, you have a resume right in front of you. Why would you want to validate what you're doing on social media? Today, organizational safety has become one of the most important aspects of organizational building. We don't want people who are politically very opinionated. We don't want people with radical thought process. We don't want people with extremism in them. We don't want people like that, and people who are irresponsible, because organizations represent team building. Organizations represent a culture. Organizations represent a holistic life. And we are not looking for troublemakers within the organization. We are looking for problem solvers, you see. So when problem solving is what we want, how can we accept people who are out and about in the social media? People randomly commenting, people randomly posting pictures that does not make any sense. People who have very low self-esteem. This is another research that I'd like to talk about. Facebook was researched for about 10 years of data now. And we fished out, I mean, this was done by McKinsey, and I'd like to share a few things about what we found out. People who post maximum amount of pictures of themselves and of everything that they are involved in are high on insecurity, are low on self-esteem, and lack social skills. These are some of the things that have come out of this research. So what does that make me and you as? We are looking for validation from people that we don't know. How many likes did we get today for my picture? 300 likes? 500 likes? Who are these people? Do they really know you? Do they know you as people? Do they know what kind of a cultural representation you're making? Do they really know what kind of a ideology you are from? No. And if you're put in a position of responsibility, how are you going to behave when your social skills are just stuck with social media? What kind of responsible decision are you going to make? What kind? I'll give you a very simple example. When I was about to come to Kolkata, the first question that I asked Rituparna was, is it safe to come? This was the question. I come from the southern part of India, and the first question that I asked Rituparna is it safe to come now to Kolkata? Where did I get that information from? I am generalizing the information that I got from social media. God knows who represented it. Is that the ground reality? No, I see a perfectly calm space around me. I see perfectly sane people around me. I feel safe, and I feel very welcomed. But where did this idea come from? Who is building this narrative on a social media? How is it culturally affecting people like you and me? Do we have a digital discipline to actually go out and about and take the responsibility for what we are actually posting? No. On the contrary, you have corporates going out and about and posting a lot of things. I do agree to that. But there is a controlled media that actually takes responsibility for what is being posted. The second thing that I'd like to highlight is how you have to look at media, how you have to look at social platforms. They are great, great, great opportunities to showcase what you really are in the right sense of things. But how are you engaging with the world? How are you actually engaging? Thoughtlessness to the world really brings about a lot of things. So that is why I made this comment that when I want to hire someone, I'm not looking at their resumes. I'm looking at their social media presence. And when I see them, it gives me an idea of what kind of people these are. How are they going to affect the culture in my own organization? How are they going to come and be a team player in my organization? Are they ready to take up leadership roles? Are they going to be responsible for the organizational growth? These are some of the most fundamental questions that I would ask myself. And that is when the hiring process happens. I mean, if you're looking at mediocre, low-level management jobs, that's okay. That's not what we sit in an educational sector and preach students, isn't it? We want people to become vice presidents, senior vice presidents, CEOs, directors, partners, or mentors like me. This is what we call it as a trajectory of growth, because that is what we all get educated for in the first place. Find ourselves a great job, or become extremely good entrepreneurs. If you want to become entrepreneurs, that is a different ballgame altogether, isn't it? You want to become entrepreneurs, you need to uphold your value systems of your organization like there's no tomorrow, because you are the representing face of the organization. How are you going to be futuristic with very less and very small values for your own personal attributes? How are you going to take this further? You cannot move, you cannot be conflicting. You cannot be conflicting in your ideas, your thought process. Your media says something, your social platform says something. You are something in your resume. You are something else in the organization. That just doesn't fit. when things don't fit, is when you get rejected by some of the top organizations in the world. Because what you say, what you do, and what you are entirely three different things. And this important quality, we call it as integrity. There's a certain lack in this. And I expect that today's generation takes this seriously, because this is the need of the hour. Organizations are built, great organizations are built with great working cultures. But if students or the coming workforce does not uphold the responsibility of it, organizations as we know it will crash. And you will be responsible for it. People have built it with great passion, but if you don't have the same passion and the eye to continue it, you would be responsible for that. The generation of new workforce would be responsible for breaking an organization that's come to do great things. Greatness, in my opinion, does not lie in your political, ideological opinions. For me, greatness lies in the kind of work you do, in the kind of person you are, and the kind of moral systems you carry. This will eventually project in your work, in your ethics, and in the way you are as a person. And this is what is a true representation of a culture. Ladies and gentlemen, culture is not built by workforce. Culture is built by leaders. Leaders who practice what they preach. And a slang or an irresponsible comment on a social media might be entertaining. That's why people tend to forget. And how does the youth going to respond to such things? Here's my take on what college students and students who are willing to become the next generation of workforce can contribute. There are a few things that you might want to consider. The things that I'd like to share is have genuine friends, friends who are in flesh and blood. That would be one of the most important things. You fight with them, you cry with them, you might even betray them, but you're doing it in flesh and blood. The second thing, having a cultural representation is one of the most important things. Your culture, the kind of heritage that you carry, speaks volumes about the kind of person you are. And the third thing that I would recommend is be people of words and little words. Don't go about irresponsibly commenting on social media, because I've been a victim of it. I know what it means. I'm sure each one of us have been victimized on social media for whatever reasons, for being irresponsible. It's important to be responsible. The entitlement is not an option. Responsibility, yes. So when I give my corporate side of how media and social media is affected. Corporates do not entertain people who are very socially active. We want people who are serious about what they're doing. People who have a vision, people who have a strategy, who are disciplined enough to take their life to the next level. Corporates like such leaders, because you can see that our social media is managed by somebody else. We don't do it ourselves. The second thing that I'd like to say is, if you're looking at a leadership role over a period of time, charity begins at home. Practice being a leader today. I think that will take you a long time. Be responsible rather than being entitled. That's one thing that I always vouch for. And the second thing is work for your own success. So media definitely plays a critical role. You have a talent, showcase it in the right light. You have something to say, put it in the right perception. You have something to organize it in the right direction. You do that, you're good to go. But as I said, the suicidal rates is increased because of lack of social validation. You're looking to be glamorous without any substantiation. That is leading to a lot of glamour, thanks to all the movie industries that have made this possible. You're thinking life on the other side is the same. But when we hear somebody committed suicide, jumped off from 15th floor, you say, oh my God, what happened to her? She was so successful. Lack of social validation is what is driving. Second is mental well-being. You don't feel well inside. No matter what you do outside, it just becomes an external facade. People can clearly see through these things. So I largely advise invest a lot on your mental well-being. When you're mentally stable, you do a lot of things that mean something to you. So having mental stability comes from inner well-being. Invest on being mentally fit. You know, it's not great being physically fit, but mentally fit is the call of the day. And the third thing, be a responsible digital citizen. Take pride in your country, take pride in your culture, and take pride in what is being offered to you. I think that goes a long way. So I think I will end my talk in saying that not everything is lost yet. Not everything is lost to social media, not everything is lost to the youth of this country. Not everything is lost. Being a responsible digital citizen can do the change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anila. We are deeply touched. Kajari, it's over to you now.
Thank you so much. So I am going to take you back to a very important year for me personally. It was 2005. I was turning 18. I had a very slow dial-up connection, which took me hours to log on to, hours to get anything from. And on that very slow dial-up system, it was the year that 2 sites came to be. The first was Facebook. The second was YouTube. And I didn't know it then, but those 2 websites were going to change our lives forever. So what happened in 2005 when I started, a very nerdy 18-year-old started accessing these spaces? Vistas opened up, worlds opened up, and a man called Tim Berners-Lee coined the phrase Web 2.0. Does anyone know who Tim Berners-Lee is? Tim Berners-Lee is the man we credit with inventing the World Wide Web. He did, I think, one of the most remarkable gestures that I have seen from anyone in the world of technology. He created a code source, and then he opened it up for the world for free. And so I think Tim Berners-Lee is more than qualified to call the web whatever he wants to call it. But he split the web up into, in his opinion, 2 periods. What he called Web 1.0, which was the period before 2004, and Web 2.0, the period after 2004. And he said the whole point of Web 1.0, the reason he had conceived of the World Wide Web in the first place, was for it to be a gigantic information source. A space you could go to get any information you wanted at your fingertips, interconnected in ways that were only imaginable before the early 90s. But then he said, what I realized was that human beings, not that interested in information. What are human beings interested in? Community. And that was the point of Web 2.0. Web 2.0 went from an information-based web to a communication-based web. And so if we look at YouTube, and if we look at Facebook, and if we look at Twitter in 2006, if we look at Instagram in 2011, if we look at TikTok in 2017, and we look at this plethora of different digitized spaces that have taken over the imagination and lifestyles of everyone across the world, they have one thing in common. They are all about different forms of communication and community building. So Web 2.0 brought, if you will, an era of transformation. And while I am in agreement with Anila about the potential dangers of Web 2.0, I think that we have to acknowledge that I, as an 18-year-old when Web 2.0 started, in front of us is a generation that has not known a world without Web 2.0. This is the community that they grew up with. These are the spaces that they occupy. So let's talk about those spaces and what are the potential risks that those spaces have, while acknowledging the reality that those spaces are here to stay and that those communities are going to be significant in the lives of every generation that is going to come from here on. I think I would be probably the last of the generation that remembers an era before Web 2.0, and I'm nearly 40. Okay, so to go back to the idea of community. In 2009, Henry Jenkins, a professor at MIT, came up with a phrase to describe what we otherwise call social media, because he wanted to broaden the scope of social media. So he called it participatory media. Because he said, what is interesting about the way that media is evolving isn't the fact that it's social. All media, in one sense or another, is social. What's interesting about it is that it's participatory, which basically means for the first time, the consumer has been given the opportunity to become the creator, which means the illusion of control has been given to every single citizen by the existence of social media. Why do I call it an illusion? Because what I greeted with so much excitement in 2005 isn't, in fact, the social media that we have today. So what I am going to talk about right now is what the components of participatory media are, and specifically the kinds of illusions that it's selling you, which you need to be deeply, profoundly aware of, because while this is a part of your reality, it's also something that you need to negotiate very carefully and very strategically. So participatory media essentially has the following components: production, presentation, distribution, curation, and interaction. I'm going to break these down for you, and I'm not going to get too technical about it. Production. You can right now go on your Instagram page and create a reel. You are now a producer of content. Whether anybody watches that reel or not, you can create, and by becoming a creator, you have entered not just a social contract, but you have also entered a, if you will, economic contract. And the problem with social media is that the lines of those start blurring really quickly. But I'll get to what I mean in a moment. Let's go over to the next part, which is presentation. And this overlaps, in a sense, with curation. Presentation means I get to show you what I want you to see. It allows you to essentially make a modeling of the self. There is a I teach a course on visual cultures, and I very often ask students, how do you take a selfie? Can any one of you stand up and tell me how you take a selfie? Got a phone on you? Tell me how you take a selfie. You do. Why do you take a selfie like that? It's just how it's done? Do all of you take a selfie like that? Do any of you take a selfie like this? Like this? Anyone? Ever? You don't, right? Why not? Why is it the perfect angle? But why? For the history of photography, the photographs have always been taken with a slight profile of face first, right? Why is it that with the advent of the cellular phone and the selfie, the angle has changed forever? It is a great angle. I also take my selfie like this, let's be clear. But why? Because you are designing, the angle isn't great because of how you're taking it, it's how you're looking at it. The history of portraits and photography, you have looked at a picture straight. Now you look at a picture down. So if you take a photo like this, you are making eye contact with someone who is looking down at you. The nature of how we interact has changed because we do everything designed for screen-based consumption. All right? So that is what I mean by ideas of how we present ourselves. We decide on a very distinct aesthetic. The other day, and I have been a professor now for 6 years, a student of mine came and told me that my aesthetic was dark academia, and I was like, get off Pinterest for the love of God. Okay? It's not dark academia, it's just that I only own black clothes. But the aestheticization means that people are both being allowed a chance of self-expression, but also being forced into very specific, very narrow ghettos of expectation. And I'll tell you precisely what I mean. When I was growing up, I looked at supermodels in magazines. And everybody will tell you that the late 90s and early 2000s were awful times to be a young woman because everybody was insanely skinny. Insanely. Like, it was heroin chic era. It was Kate Moss, who probably weighed as much as like a twig. Okay? But as a regular human being, I looked at Kate Moss in a magazine and I was like, Kate Moss is a supermodel who is being paid, a lot of money to look like this, and I moved on with my life. The problem with social media is now Minnie from Instagram looks like that. And the pressure on you is, why don't you? And that's the function of presentation. So what do? You download one of the many retouch apps that are available to you. You airbrush your face, you make your eyes bigger, you make your wrinkles go away, you make your hair look thicker, you make your eyebrows look curved, you make your teeth look whiter. And what you've done is you have lost any sense of connection between what you see in the mirror and what you see on the screen. And when you're losing that connection with yourself, while you consider it as a form of self-presentation, it is also a form of self-erasure. All right, then we talk about distribution. Now, participatory culture, and this was one of the big things about participatory culture, it will allow you, the consumer, to deal with organic markets. That you can make your own jewelry, you can sell your own paintings, you can go online, you don't need the big corporates to take over. You can do your own thing, right? You can be your own entrepreneur. And then, of course, that didn't happen. Because at the end of the day, money speaks. And algorithms were designed to take power away from you and give back to the big corporates. So the illusion, to go back to what I said earlier, that you have power, but you don't. The algorithm is steadily draining that away from you. And finally, interaction. I was 18, I was on Facebook talking to people across the world, in Mexico, in Ghana, in Paris. It was incredible. The question, I think, and here's the thing, some of them are still my friends 20 years later. So if anyone tells you online friendships aren't real, they're lying to you. Online friendships can be real. What are not real are ideas of online communities. Going back to the idea of the algorithm, you are being forced into silos. You are being forced into spaces that are giving you false notions of community without allowing for any real forms of intimacy or bonding or commonality or discussion or depth. Because all of you like Pokemon, or all of you like Euphoria, or all of you like Taylor Swift. Whatever, pick your battle. But just because you are a Swiftie doesn't mean you're friends. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But the illusion of the internet does make you think you're friends. And very often, you are compromising the ability, digital or real, to build more meaningful relationships by feeding into the illusion of the algorithm. So I think what we need to focus on is that digital spaces are currently being manipulated by the larger existing forces of commerce, of politics, of larger social change, where you are being presented by illusions that you have control, whereas the control is being slowly eroded. Web 2.0 is giving way to Web 3.0. Web 3.0 hopefully is still a few years away, but Web 3.0 is when the algorithm takes over, when artificial intelligence takes over, and you are going to be in that pod in the matrix, thinking you still have control when you don't.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Sir? Yes.
Yes, it was great to speak with Kajrima. Yeah, so would you please continue a little with that AI thing, as how AI is going to say control us in next future, and how the actually I'm going to present my paper with your thing in the second part you are taking on, but I'm not judging in that way that how that technology and that's your in your terms that's the web 3.0 4.0 in that way as controlling us, but my question is that is please continue a little bit with that anarchical conditions that is it's going to ask us try to speak you're continuing your speak with you talking, but try I want you to speak as we I in that way please.
Yes, well, I mean, so I think the idea of community there becomes very interesting, because what does we mean at this point? Where does the idea of the self get, and I think that the internet plays this really interesting role in a double validation. I am I, but I am also us. And in that context, I think you tend to lose out on both, because the idea of belonging means that you have to become a part of a larger system. But the idea of individuating also means you have to become a part of a larger system. So it's a bit of a lose-lose clause. But I mean, to go back to a point that Anala was making, which is about validation, when in the history of humankind have we not wanted validation? Right, we've always wanted validation. We've wanted validation from our peers, from our parents, from our bosses. We've just taken that and now applied it to 20,000 people we don't know. So I think that the idea of where we stand, and you can't come off that. You can't remove yourself from those spaces, because those are now spaces that it becomes compulsory to occupy. So how do you train yourself to not want that validation? And is it really possible to do that? I think becomes a larger, much more complex question.
It's good. I mean, what you pointed out is right, and thank you for that question, because when you say I and us, it is rather difficult. When you say social validation, of course, I mean, we are social animals. I mean, you cannot take away the validation bit of it. But the question that I have for you is, where has validation been validated? That's the question. This is where the new school of thought comes, isn't it? The lack of validation is what creates a new school of thought. And that's precisely what an algorithm wants. See, you're trying to build I in the validation bit of it. But when you're trying to build an I in the validation bit, you're already in a community. And a very restricted community. It's a very restricted community where you're seeking validation. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. Oh.
1 minute. Arindam is going to ask us some questions. Yes, 1 minute. The point is, just Kajuri is saying that it's the difference between iPhone, smartphone, and a mirror. When I am standing in front of my smartphone, So it's going to validate in a particular way, which is media is not doing. So I think your questions, your point, say is dissolved the border of your questions, being I and us, within a community or say in individual self conditions, dissolves, the border dissolves there between a smartphone thing and a mirror. The self questions, just you asking just no, our Sufi philosophy somehow stands, helps us to stand in front of a, say, it's mirror world, Arshinogur. It's kind of thing. Okay, you know, that, say, for last 300 years, we are carrying this tradition as the longest musical chain throughout the world, is telling always, continuing. But we used to say Madhukari as Bhikha. Okay, so I'm not just going with your point.
May I just
please,
make a quick sort of counterpoint on that? Have you heard of an app called Be Real? Okay, Be Real is, in my opinion, the most amusing app that has come out in the last 3 years. And the reason it's so amusing is because the whole point of it is that there will come a point where you have to take both a selfie and simultaneously use both your front and your back camera at that point, at that second, so that you give a real look into your life. So you could be cutting vegetables, you could be taking a nap, you could be in the middle of a game or whatever, right? I was doing a study on Be Real. And what I realized is that because Be Real usually kicks in around the same time, you suddenly had a whole bunch of kids who all put on their makeup, did their hair, put themselves in an aesthetic position just so that they could look cool on an app that is entirely designed to break that concept. So we are now I'm saying that these are now lived realities despite efforts of disruption. So I think that it requires us to acknowledge that and work with that rather than try to put smoke back in a box. I think it's too late to say let's go back to the values of 15 years ago. I wish we could, but I think the pandemic broke that. I think we are now at a time where the digital spaces are here to stay, and the best we can expect is for there to be more realistic connections on the internet than connections off the internet.
But that's very subjective by nature. Absolutely subjective. That is what I meant. I mean, if you're going to give out your details on wherever you're going to give and whatever you're going to do, it's only going to be your point of view. So expecting a social validation does not become relevant. That is what I'm trying to get at. The irrelevancy of social validation has nothing to do with what you want to propagate. I mean, if people were to look at it that way, done responsibly, great results. Done irresponsibly, it's going to go down the drain. As Kajori rightly pointed out, the technology is here to stay, and it's going to make it worse as we go. It's already done. I mean, you're talking about 3.0. We are at the advent of the 5th industrial revolution with AI kicking in. Generative AI is taking over pretty much everything. We are now giving rise to responsible AI. So we are saying, okay, fine, AI is there. ChatGPT came, which ruined our English and ruined everything, including sentence formation. Now we have an AI which has so much of information that it makes an intelligent person look like an idiotic one. And then you have responsible AI. How are we going to make Gen AI look responsible? You are the founder of the problem and you are giving the solution. So why do you seek validation? I wouldn't. You would want to put on your content, be a digital responsible citizen. Do it, you're done. Your bit is done. Whether it's going to go to a community, it's going to go to anywhere, doesn't matter. I think we are speaking the same language in two different contexts. That's all it is. You know, I mean, we're not contradictory in any ways. We're speaking the same language, but perhaps, you know, we're getting at the same analogy. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this is a two-part question. When we thought of the word isolation, we also associated it with, you know, vilifying, like social media witch hunting, alienation. Okay, so when we talk of isolation, I would like your perspective on it, that how social media can be relentless in making a person go from hero to zero in a moment, and keep on doing that till that person either fights back or just gives in and succumbs. That's number one. And number two is generative AI, as you just said. The latest trend on Instagram are the AI generated influencers. Means they are taking over real life influencers, and suddenly all the brands are coming up with their brand of influencers. How much will that be responsible in further pushing people away from reality into a virtual world where there are no blocks and tackles, there are no hindrances, there are no pitfalls, it's a smooth sail. And then when they walk out on the street, they see that it's like, either the society will turn Buddha, like Buddha did when he walked out into the street and saw so much of people dying, so much of sorrow, or they will become a monster. So your comments on that?
So should I take the cancel culture bullying comment, and then you can talk about generative AI?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, so I have spent far too much time trying to get a sense of how legal systems can adapt to the kind of harassment that goes on in digital spaces. And unfortunately, in the major pros and cons of participatory media is that the pros and the cons are exactly the same. So you can't have legal intervention. It is not an option, because if you have that, you basically kill freedom of speech once and for all. So then the next question is, can you have ethical interventions? And this is my unfortunate takeaway. Human beings as a monolith suck. They're awful. Okay? Human beings as individuals are lovely, but as all of us know, the moment you organize I'm in Kolkata, a michil, a mob, anything, it will inevitably devolve into complete chaos. Now, you put that on the internet, you take away any potential legal repercussions, you give it absolute anonymity and facelessness, and you are going to see the worst of humanity come out. Yes, this has led to witch hunts, this has led to incredible amounts of harassment. There was a running joke when I was in journalism that if you haven't got at least 2 rape threats a day as a woman journalist, are you even a journalist? And I mean, to a day was a bare minimum, right? So so yes, can we do it ethically? Can we train people into being better digital citizens? My fear is, no, we can't, because people are awful. And one person makes an ugly comment and it just escalates from there, and I cannot think of any measure other than legal to curb it, but curbing it legally is going to push you down a very slippery path of essentially killing freedom of expression. So, as the kids say, I guess the only thing to do is touch grass. I am not sure whether there's any other option, because yes, it is isolating. You will get harassed off. You will be treated terribly. Twitter has a joke where you can say, I love pancakes, and 2,000 people will be like, why do you hate waffles? Right? And there is no assumption of innocence or good faith on social media. And that leads to a constant state of precarity, which, to go back to what I was mentioning earlier, gets you to a point where you are so careful about self-fashioning, because you have to say, I love pancakes, but also waffles, also great. Okay, don't offend. The number of students, this was not true even 6 years ago when I started teaching, the number of students who are like, but we don't want to hurt anyone's sentiments, because they're so scared of the potential repercussions of social media. And unfortunately, and there's global work on this, which says every intervention has failed. The only way to deal with a mob online is a counter mob online.
Talking about social media isolation, I mean, don't you think everybody is isolated already? We are already isolated. I mean, I can see most of the students on their phones already. There's so many people on phone. Yeah. It's not hard. Why? Why is this isolation? Because it gives you that comfort zone. Your fears are taking shape. And it's leading to a psychosomatic disorder over a period of time. It is. National Health Organization, WHO says every third person in India is psychologically distorted, which is true. And if I take a case study right in this class, I will get at least 15 students who are on their phones. So what does that validate? Why is it that they are not paying attention to what is being discussed here? It's very simple. Fear. They're gripped with fear. What if I miss the train? What if I lose out on something? What if somebody takes over? This fear is given way to a lot of insecurity. There's a certain lack of skill. You're feeding the AI. I don't even have to bring AI. I have 20 students who are sitting here who can feed into my AI by getting onto their phone, giving all kinds of likes, whether they randomly give or whether they consciously give doesn't matter. You're feeding corporates, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much. You're feeding it. So what am I going to do? People like Google, Gemini is going to sit there. Google, or it could be Microsoft, or it could be Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Telegram. God knows what all grams are there. You're going to take all of that and keep feeding your stupidity into it. Sorry to be harsh, but this is the reality of things. You're randomly doing what is known as a random selection in statistics. You're just clicking, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. What are you giving rise to? You're giving rise to an alter ego in the World Wide Web. So that's why I said to you, sir, I and us doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. So what you feed into the system is making a random selection. It's generating a language of its own. That's what AI does. That's exactly what AI does. You are giving the information, AI creates a system out of it and throws right back at you. And you're confused. This is not what I wanted, and this is not what I meant. Too late. Because 10 people have already liked that dumb video. There is a man chasing a dog, for instance. For you, at that given mental state of mind, you might feel that it is a happy-go-lucky catch. Oh, I love it. But AI is not seeing that way. There is a dog that is being chased. Or vice versa, whatever may be the case. AI is saying, this person, whoever liked this video, likes these kind of abusive, funny abusive videos. The next thing you know, it's picking up a whole lot of literature from the whole media cloud that is there. It's projecting right at you. What is it trying to do? It is trying to instigate what you thought was fun. It is trying to instigate. It is going to take a monstrous outlook over a period of time. That is why when I started off, I said the suicide rates are increasing. As Kajori rightly said, mob. You attack it because you need to defend your sovereignty of what you actually liked and what you actually wanted to do. So the minute you defend it, you're creating a counterattack. The minute you create a counterattack, there's a whole bunch of people that will just abuse it and they'll just stop you from getting onto it. What happens? You get into what is known as low self-esteem, self-doubt. You don't want to be on the social media, and you're off. This is what it's leading to, ladies and gentlemen. And the second bit, sorry, Gutaparna, I'm going to take another minute of what Sir just asked. The second bit of question where he said Gen AI, this is exactly what Gen AI is doing. We are going to create cyborgs over a period of time. Workforces will be wiped out. And Buddhas, forget Buddhas, people will be hysterical on the streets. That's exactly what we want. I'm giving the corporate perspective of things. Do you mean to say we don't have enough? You can already see this in the health sector. You can see in journalism that's happening. We have so much data on these things that we are literally calibrating, modulating, and feeding realities that you want to see. We want you to see. This is control. AI is already doing this. So what is this that we don't know? We will not, there will come a point where the entire system disintegrates, which I don't know when. And when the system completely disintegrates, perhaps that is when we will have Buddha. Maybe the 10th avatar will come up. that is my take. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I think it has been a very powerful session with two very powerful ladies, and that includes me also. Two powerful ladies on stage and one moderating. Yeah. And I'm so glad, Arindam sir, you chose me for this session. Thank you, Anala. Thank you. I don't think there is anything left for me to say in order to wind up the session. All has been said. I thank you both from the bottom of my heart, from our departments and SNU Techno India as a group for accepting our invitation, and we look forward to a long-term association with both of you. Thank you so much.
Participants, get ready. We'll start in 5 minutes. Okay? VIP lounge? Ma'am, you go for your presentation. Yeah. I mean, তোমার পেপারের জন্যই গ্যাপটা রেখেছি। AI. Oh, okay. No, just
Isn't that hilarious? Somebody is defying AI.
yeah. So, like, recently there was thing that Mother Teresa fighting poverty. That was it was put on AI. And AI came up with an image of Mother Teresa with a stick in hand. And two African kids with sticks trying to fight back. Oh my God. Yeah. So AI came up with that image. Two African students. See, imagine poverty. Lead to the same. When it is see, till today, when I'm joining you. I'm just begin the session and Rusha, start. Oh, sorry, Shamunti, start.
Firstly, I request all the presenters to come at the front. Holding both a master's and PhD from the prestigious University of Calcutta, currently serving as a professor at Bardhaman University, Dr. Rajesh Das has years of experience as an academician and a prolific writer. He has built a reputation for scholar excellency as a deep commitment to education. As the session chair for today's afternoon, I now welcome Dr. Rajesh Das on the stage to chair the session. Just to remind, each presenter will have 10 minutes to deliver their papers, and all the presenters are requested to bring their pen drives on the stage so that we can play the presentation. The very first presentation of today's afternoon is on English as Lingua Franca, a comprehensive study by Tulika Chatterjee from Techno India Group. Ma'am, I request you to come on the stage.
Yeah, I will just repeat the tentative duration for each speaker. It's 10 minutes. If you don't finish within 10 minutes, you have a 2 minutes bonus to wrap up. After 12 minutes, if the session chair wants to ask some questions, or else we move on to the next speaker. So 10 plus 2. Ball.
I'm requesting to the all paper presenter just to mention the area of research is the very important. Then sample design, objectives and the findings. So basic 3 to 4 areas should be mentioned in your deliberation or the presentation. Area of research and the definition of the sample size is very important. If possible, then try to mention 1 or 3 the very important literature review. So 4 to 5 points are enough to build up your presentation. Thank you. Over to Ma'am Tulika Chatterjee. It's not working, I know.
Hello. Namaskar. Good afternoon. I am Tulika Chatterjee. I work in Techno India Group. My presentation today is English as Lingua Franca. It's a very interesting topic for me because when I was in second year, I was in Shri Shikshayatan College, Calcutta University. We had this subject and it mentioned that we had Indian writing in English. So it was a dilemma to me, quite a dilemma. Of course, I will have a paper in English. Then why are teachers specifically emphasizing on English, on Indian writing in English? How is it different from Indian English literature? And aren't English honors students supposed to have all kinds of literature in English? What is Indian writing in English? And how is English writing different from Indian writing in English? So all these questions kind of drove me crazy until I actually understood that Indian literature in English talks about Indian cultures, customs, traditions, struggles, challenges of Indians in English. It is not English literature, but it is indeed Indian writing which is coming to you in an English language. Indian writing in English is the body of work by writers in India who write in the English language, but whose native or co-native language could be one or numerous languages in India. Naturally, their English is different than what we see as English literature or as native speakers or native writers. And then came my spree to research and find reasons in English communication on a global level. If writings in English can vary from region to region, of course, verbal communication will follow the same path. Then what is happening to English globally? And how is business affected through language? Is English strength or a barrier? If what native English speakers speak is standard form of English, what Henry Cavill and Princess Catherine speak is standard form of English, then what are we speaking? Is it different? So that, that facilitated in this topic, English as lingua franca. What is a lingua franca? What is English as lingua franca? English as lingua franca is the use of English language as a global means of inter-community communication. What is the aim? Because we speak English, we go to schools. What is the aim of this English as lingua franca? The aim is to communicate in English at a very high level, probably, but not as a native speaker. There is a difference between a native speaker and a non-native speaker in nuances, even though the non-native speaker can be very good in English. So to understand this, what we need to understand is the history of lingua franca. Now, when we talk about any language, or a standard form of language, or a common language, English is not the first time that is being used. English is not being used as lingua franca for the first time. Throughout history, various languages has been served as lingua franca. For example, Latin in ancient Rome, French in diplomacy, and Swahili in parts of Africa. We still have many French words we still have many French words in English which we particularly use in diplomacy. So that's how English is an ever-evolving language, we all know that. So that's how we understand the history of lingua franca. So in a contemporary society today, English plays a dominant role as a lingua franca, particularly in the international business, diplomacy, science, and pop culture. The population of non-native speakers in English is far more than native speakers of English for, of course, obvious reasons. My next slide is the rise of English as a global language. How did it come to existence? Why is French not the global language? Or why is Bengali not the global language? Why is Hindi not the global language? So the history is very simple. First, we come to understand that wherever money goes, nature takes its course. Wherever money goes, art flourishes. Language follows the path. Colonial era came. The rise of English can be traced back to the British Empire's global influence, coupled with the development of United States with a major economic and political boom. This led to the adoption of English in trade, education, and technology. And to this era, we understand the impact of social media. In technology, digitalization came, and what we have is we are using English on social media as a common tongue. We even have those translations. We see Japanese people writing, we see Chinese people writing, we see Russian writing, and then we instantly click to translate, and we see everything in English because we need to understand it in a tongue that we understand. And we need to understand it very immediately. We don't have time. So this is the rise of English as a global language. So when we talk about a lingua franca, what are the advantages of a lingua franca? The use of English as a lingua franca offers several benefits, probably all benefits. It facilitates in communication, promotes global understanding, and opens opportunities for collaboration in various fields. Like I said, it is very evident that we are all collaborating on social media through English. Promotions are made, money is being made, everybody is happy just because there is a common tongue. And that's because there was advent of English. Now, advent of English can be different. The English we knew in the 14th century could be different. The English we know right now, it's different. But still, English is evolving, but English as a language is there, it's present. So, you know, when we talk about advantages of English, so we have open business forums, entertainments, even building personal communications. We have so many people coming in from Pakistan claiming that they're in love. They're coming in India, Indians are going to Germany, Germans are coming to Sri Lanka just because there is English. When we talk about love also, we can't forget that there are so many movies being produced by Hollywood just because they can make money through the common tongue. Yes, there are adaptations in Korean, yes, there are adaptations in Hindi, but the money they are making is from the box office collection, which is in English. So, we talk about the advantages of English. There are also some challenges of English. Now, naturally, I would like to talk about something which is very personal to me. As a Bengali, I feel there is a language loss of language. The challenge is we are forgetting and erasing what we have been built with. Our sweat and blood is Bengali. English is a lingua franca, but to preserve my native tongue is in my hands. So I have to learn English, yes, but I also have to preserve my native tongue. There are cultural biases and linguistical inequality. And there is one thing which is a challenge in English as a lingua franca is most native speakers do not understand that native speakers are different when they talk in English. Probably a non-native speaker would say, slow down a bit, maybe your accent is not clear, maybe you're very fast, or I don't understand a particular terminology or a joke. So they also need to tap that end and kind of make a bridge that they understand that there is a difference between English as a lingua franca and English as a native tongue.
Ma'am, I'm requesting come to your observation or conclusion because
Right.
10 minutes is over.
Yes. My conclusion is English is here to stay. Why? English is here to stay. It will evolve. Like I said, 14th century English, different. Now what we speak, different. But English is here to stay. I would like to add here that English doesn't belong to Britain. It doesn't belong to America. It doesn't belong to Australia anymore. It's a new English used in a global communication as a mode and as a tool of communication. Thus, English as a lingua franca is a tool within a language. This is my observation. We are kind of building around English. It is ever evolving. It's never static. So never ever forget that English is non-taxable. Speak, learn. Don't be afraid. If you speak or if you slip, dugna lagan nahi dena padega. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So better we want to interact, or after delivering all the participants or lecture, finally we'll go for interaction. Which one will be better? Anyone?
I'm
Anyone
open to
asks any
questions.
question, any queries? Ma'am, just one small
Yes.
question to you.
Yes.
Whether any kind of theoretical foundation like rhetorical or dialogic action or the dialectic action, any kind of theoretical foundation that help this kind of
Yes, sure.
presentation?
I will let you know.
It was a rhetorical framework or the dialogic or the dialectic actions?
So when I write about anything, there is the prime concern is when I write a theory paper, I write it on an exemplified basis. I have an example which is very, very prominent. When I was a communication faculty, and we had a game that you go to a 5-star hotel, and what they give you is a menu, and you don't understand that you are actually ordering chole bhature, because they have written it chickpeas in a sauce of tamarind and chickpeas in a sauce of tomato. So there is a difference in what they're writing and what you are perceiving. That is English, but that is not your English. That is their English. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am
Thank you.
Tulika Chatterjee. And now I invite Madam Anisha Roy. She's
Can I-
from, yeah, ma'am.
Can I
Thank you,
take
you
my
so-
pen drive?
Yeah, the volunteers.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day, sir. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you so much. And now, Anisha, she's from St. Xavier's University, and the title of his paper, The Impact of Social Media on Feminist Narrative in Urban India. So there are at least three important catalysts are here. One is the impactness, then social media, third one, the feminist narrative, and fourth one, the area of research that reads the urban India. So ma'am, again want to requesting you that try to mention the area of research, sample design, and basic findings or the observations. Over to Anisha Roy.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone present today. I'll quickly go through the topic and the pointers that sir wanted me to point out briefly. So my topic deals with the impact of social media on feminist narratives in urban India. Briefly, the importance of the topic, as per my perception of understanding, was basically that the world today, especially from the perspective and view of the Gen Z taken into consideration as the primal focal point of the target study, is that it's divided into the understanding of two spheres colliding and cumulatively becoming one. The one is the digital media, the codependency that the Gen Z have with new media, primarily social media, and in my case of study, it's Instagram as a platform. And the second is their understanding of the whole media narratives based on gender stereotypes in action. Now, the narratives being good or bad is what is presented as the conclusive findings of this particular study. Sorry. So, introducing to the topic, it basically deals with a few pointers as to the understanding of the platform from different perspectives and how this particular platform, when taken into consideration, like Instagram, has its own importance. Now, Instagram primarily has one very huge advantage to itself, and that is the fact that it kind of caters to a lot of needs that Gen Z have when it comes to their codependency on a particular media platform, be it in the form of networking, be it in the form of information seeking, be it in the form of gratification or validation, or be it in the form of community building. So almost the uses and gratification theory as a theoretical framework is quite well established when collided with the understanding of Instagram and its performative actions for the Gen Z people. Now, these are the pointers that I have taken into consideration, but lacking the time, I'll quickly move forward. Now, these are the models that I have tried to incorporate to basically understand and establish my point of study. The first is the agenda setting theory, which basically primarily focuses on how Instagram is being able to use its purview of hierarchy amongst the particular target study to create a particular platform where, as in, the codependency is higher, and therefore their power of establishments of propaganda automatically becomes higher simultaneously. The second is a two-step flow theory, which takes into consideration the entire influencer culture, which is again very exclusive to the platform, and creates the whole parametrics of understanding as to how the influencer culture primarily plays a role into the shaping of the narratives based on gender stereotypes for the receivers or the consumers, creating a loop as well, because in this particular case, the receivers and the consumers are also the content creators, and therefore it's a narrative based on that. The last is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and this basically talks about the primarily focus of how at different stages of life we go through different needs of understandings and primary focal points of our prioritization of wants and needs. But in the case of Gen Z, and especially because of focus of the quantitative study, being in the urban setup based on certain pointers of questionnaire, filtering out the section guarantees them a certain economic and cultural privilege of the background. Therefore, their primary focus of priorities starts from the need of community and validation seeking directly, bypassing the first two needs. The key points discussed as a part of the quantitative survey has been the understanding of the representation of feminism as and how through Instagram primarily, the influence on urban Gen Z bias perceptions for capitalist gains as to how the marketing has been a cumulative understanding, the consumer awareness and responsibility, and the ultimate conclusion for the future scope of the study. The objectives of the study, it's basically primarily focuses on 2 or 3 objectives, which are the broad areas. The first is to understand that how feminism as a term has been commodified and commercialized in digital spaces, and how Instagram is primarily using its algorithmic echo chamber for marketing gains, and how this is unaware and camouflaged from the target audience in consideration. And because of them being camouflaged to the idea of it, they're falling into a loop of being blinded by what feminism is being portrayed as a part of the marketing propaganda. And that's the whole idea of what gender equity and equality comes down to. The research methodology, it's primarily basically a quantitative study, and 500 respondents from Calcutta metropolitan city, representative of the other metropolitan culture, has been taken into consideration. In the paper, I have tried to be more detailed about it. There has been a stratified random sampling as to the fact that there has been an equal distribution of the gender to keep it more neutral perspective. However, the rest of it has been random sampling, and it has been done in a snowballing effect as to the fact that it was an online survey being made. Lastly, a few findings in the key discussions. It mostly emphasizes on the hierarchy of build-up of what feminism and gender discourse has come down to, and its contradiction and cumulative understanding based on brand activism. So how basically it collides with the whole idea of marketing gains and capitalist gains for today's day and time. By a certain set of the niche, and how it basically helps in establishing a certain parametrics of understanding of gender stereotypes. And this is the actual reality of what we move forward with the future generations, because the codependency on this platform also establishes on a very higher magnitude as to this being the future of what holds of their understanding of gender stereotypes to be. Lastly, the entire paper tries to kind of dwell into the backlashes and also the foregrounds of the observations that have been made as a part of the study. It's mostly data-based as to the fact that it's an user-based study. So whatever the users from the consumption point of view have put forward is the entire base of the study, as to they kind of establish that when they're consuming the content, how their camouflaged blindness towards the whole idea of marketing propagation and propaganda being behind it leads to them being blinded about a certain niche of feminism being the core of it. I could not include literature review, but these are certain references that have been used all through the research paper. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So any queries, questions from the audiences or the other paper presenter? Anyone? Not a single. Lots of students and scholars are here, I hope. Ma'am, you mentioned the generation Z. So here generation Z is a biological entity or ethnographic entity?
No, I have done it based on secondary data establishment primarily, because there are a lot of arguments based on what you're saying.
No.
So
you mentioned the generation
yes,
Z.
Yes.
So
it's a biological entity.
Just a biological entity.
Yes.
And please come your methodology,
Yes,
that
sir.
slides. Research methodology, and the previous slide was, I hope, the You mentioned 3 consecutive theories,
Yes.
agenda setting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but no feminist theory is there.
No, sir, because I have.
Whereas your, one of the prime objective is feminist narrative.
Yes, sir, but it's an entirely user-based study, so it's entirely from the perspective of consumption. So there has not been made any concrete establishment of what feminism has to be or has to look like. It's entirely based on what feminism looks like from the consumption point of view of Instagram alone.
Okay, so you think no kind of psychoanalysis or anything are needed to come your conclusion? Because already you mentioned the agenda setting. From your agenda setting to feminist narrative, and you already defined a very specific group of audiences, that is the generation Z in urban India, and more specifically the urban Kolkata,
Right,
according
sir.
to your
Right, sir.
design. So just again I want to say that no kind of feminist theory, like in any kind of...
There has been a few references taken into consideration as a part of the entire paper. The references have been a part of the literature review primarily to establish certain narratives based on feminist theories, but otherwise there hasn't been done a psychoanalysis per se, because it was left as a part of the future scope of further study basically, because the entire paper starts and ends from only a user-based interface understanding, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
well designed. No doubt is well designed. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Madam
sir.
Anisha Roy. And now will come Mr. Anirban Sadhu. Sir. Sir, you had just mentioned the professionals. So I'm requesting just introduce yourself, 1 or 2 sentences.
I'm just
It
taking
will
the
be
PPT.
better.
Sorry, the pen drive.
Because here only mention your name, Anirban Sadhu, and then comma, professionals. So better, sir, just 1 or 2 sentences about yourself. And Mr. Anirban Sadhu.
So you have it in the drive, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, it's opening from the drive, so you just have to put the arrows up.
Students are requesting to raise your voice. Maybe Bangla, maybe
Don't
Vernacular,
worry.
maybe English.
Till I think I'm
Maybe
say
right,
audible.
maybe wrong. Please raise your voice. Ask some questions.
Yeah.
It's a conclave. Just interact. Please interact. It will be better. Thank you, sir. Please.
Yeah, good morning, Rajesh. My name is Anirban. Good morning, students. I'm a cinematographer, basically. I'm a cameraman. So now the terms DOP and say cinematographer and that kind of thing. Say Shubroto Mitro, my teacher, Polonje Gotagurta, and everybody is used to say them as a cameraman. So I think cameraman is enough. And now, say it is the first chance for me, like people like me who are the technicians, who used to stand behind that, my daughter is standing behind the camera. My positions used to be there. Okay, say it's very privileged. It's the first time I'm facing yours. So it's a great thing. And in that way, I want to deliver my gratitude to all of yours. See, being a cameraman, I used some cameras. I learned with film kind of technology in 2000. In 2000, I started my master's in film studies, and with that thing, I started a diploma accordingly here in Kolkata. And I started working, I started learning cinematography or imaging in film. You, my students, actually are the generations, I think you don't have seen our celluloid, our film. And nowadays, we all are changing into digital kind of medias. We are creating datas. So my actual points are going around that thing, that technological evolutions in visual communications revolutionize formal expression more than its contents. So what a formal, I'm coming, formal kind of thing, and then how it come over the content with the change of the technology. That is my point. Okay, it's clear, I think. Yeah. So I like to start with that thing. Say, Alexander Asturk, I think you have read, you have gone through our film kind of magazines called Cahiers du Cinema. Cahiers du Cinema was a, say, earlier film magazine, started its journey in 1951, and it's germinated in 1948 with Andre Bazin and I think with Alexander Asturk. So my article started with a seminal article called La Camera Stilo. It's La, the camera, and stilo is a stylus, pen. So Alexander Asturk's point was like that he used to use that camera as a pen. And with that thing, the theory started its journey. Alexander Asturk used to say misses a thing that if we can use a camera like a pen, then say by that time, you know, in 1948 camera was big, huge kind of, and we can't say take them out from the studios. So the outdoor shootings or that kind of thing was very tough for technicians. And say the narrators used to make their narrations, their stories inside a white telephone cinemas kind of thing was germinating. But after Second World War, different kind of film movements come up. Filmmakers started their journey with different kind of experiences, and just after 10 years, they say they able to take the camera out of the streets and move with that thing. Film cameras, big cameras. Alexander Asturk used to say that if we can use our cameras like pens, then we can write poems through cameras. Nowadays, we are using, say, watch. Say, here's the photo of Alexander Asturk, and is the initial magazine of Cahiers du Cinema. And that is the heading of that article, La Camera Stilo. Okay, and watch nowadays. And you know, after that, different kind of movement. I'm a student of linguistics basically, and Ferdinand Saussure was my say parental teacher. Ferdinand Saussure didn't write a book. With his articles, with his class notes, his students made a book called The Language in 1920. But it was, say, absconded. And in 1950, Louis Althusser opened the book again. And from 1960 onwards, we came up with a movement called structuralism. People, capitalists particularly, used to say bully that kind of word structuralisms with post-modernism. Definitely we can't say it's post-modernism, we say it's modernism. What's about that? Modern is enough, I think. Now come with a thing of Louis Althusser, and I say make my point of La Camera Stilo by Alexander Asturk a little like Alexander Asturk's seminal works, La Camera Stilo, The Camera Pen, is a foundational work in the history of film theory, published in 1948 in Cahiers du Cinema magazine. It introduced the concepts of the auteur theory, which posits that a film's director is the primary creative force behind a film, much like an author is in a novel. Ashok argued that filmmakers should strive for a personal expressions through their work, using the camera as a tool for writing and storytelling. His ideas had a profound influence on the new wave movement in French cinema and the development of author-driven filmmaking worldwide. The advent of digital photography has revolutionized the field of visual communications, marking the significant departure from the traditional film medium over the past 2 decades. Last 2 decades, I'm telling, from 2000s to 2024, and marking a significant departure from the traditional film medium. Over the past 2 decades, camera technology has undergone a series of transformative shifts with far-reaching implications for the capture, storage, and disseminations of images. Historically, film photography dominated the landscape, characterized by its analog nature and reliance on chemical processes. The limitations of film, such as the need for physical development and the finite number of exposure per roll, often restricted and spontaneity and accessibility of images creations. In contrast, digital cameras utilize electronic sensors to capture light and convert it into digital data. These transitions has led to several key advantages. What kind of advantages? We know basically, as instantaneous preview, digital cameras provide real-time feedback, allowing photographers to access the compositions and exposures of an image immediately after it is. Basically, my teachers, those people who working with film cameras used to see the nature, used to see the object through glasses, not through processed images. And here, I like to introduce one man. It's called Rolla Butt. He wrote after the structural thing, and in that way, how Louis Althusser introduced the structural pattern of images in its structural and say kind of Marxist kind of pattern. For the first time, we used to know that image is also a matter. Initially, we used to say that images are virtues, images are not real. But as reality is transcended to a different kind of reality through cameras, camera can't pose. We can't make, it was a very big challenge with the advent of cameras. We know that whether it's a photography or cinematography or the art or not, because the images it creates, it's very similitude with the object of a photographs. And Rollerbert in 1967 wrote an article, it's called The Death of an Author. And I used to say, interpret it with the birth of the reader. In my term, birth of the observer, birth of the spectator. So in that way, from 2000 onwards, think how we people are interacting. Kajuri ma'am just was concluding in that way in his second part of his speech, that how we are getting involved with that images. And in my term, look, one thing.
Sir, request to come to conclusion. The time is over.
So it's Rollebert's article. Those are the big cameras used. And there is in the right thing, here, it is the Osmo camera. It's like a pen nowadays. You can buy it with 54,000 Indian currency. Those are CP contact prime lenses. Okay, we use those old lenses of film cameras nowadays with digital cameras with some adapters. Like those are the adapters. Those are the adapters. Those are the adapters. Okay, and those are the digital lenses. Comparing to those lenses of CP lenses, those are the big steel and glass lenses. And with all those terms, we are merging basically the technique. And finally, I'm trying to conclude the thing. Those are the digital cameras, you know. Watch. One example, and I can put you, say, much more example. Here, I put a single example of how we are introduced to the vertical kind of screening. It's a formal expression. Initially, from the starting of the film, we try to make it wide and wider and more wider in that way. But for the advent of smartphones, we are introduced with vertical kind of, it's a formal change. And it comes over content. তাল গাছ এক পায়ে দাঁড়িয়ে সব গাছ ছাড়িয়ে এবার তাল গাছে ছবি তুলতে গেলে আমরা কোন ফ্রেমটা নেব what kind of frame we want to say want to fix for photographing a palm tree what will help us what kind of frame will help us the subject will be the same I have seen with Ritik Ghatak frames say a single palm tree is standing in a field. Painting frames are also wider, but for the first time that portrait kind of nature is coming. It's just a formal expressions. In that way, in different way, one single content can be expressed in thousands kind of forms, and forms are taking its shift. Forms are taking its charge, and in that way, we are getting free out of that content. Now we are more formal. Yes, nowadays we have the power to write poems through cameras. And we are writing also. Last day I was watching a screening there in Sujata Shodon. Say it was a big screening and say one of the participant on that documentary was participating from Delhi with a video kind of conference. Think what kind of observations, what kind of, how observers are say present within the screen, through the screen, and in live way. All those are formal expressions, I think. So in that way, that is my thing, that with the change of technology, with the change of technological tools, my tool is camera, and I'm exposed with that kind of thing as a visualization tool. I think the audio recorders, audio technicians can tell about that audio development. But my turn is for visuals, and in that way, that change of technology actually opens up the forms over contents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oniman. No doubt it's a different type of presentation. Actually, it's a kind of historical narrative, but huge archival value. So just, it's not a question, just I want to know from you. We are from mainly School of Social Science or the Communication, and you are much more from School of Arts and Aesthetics. So from your part, just I want to know from you, again want to say, it's not a question, what is visual communication from your lens? Means now you are the representative from the School of Arts and Aesthetics. So according to your perception, what is the visual communication? We have some idea from School of Communication, what is the visual communication, but just I want to know from you.
Yeah,
how you want to
it
narrate.
is a very interesting question Rajesh asked, and it helped me to say you something. Say, give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Okay, say, people from yesterday are telling media in a way with that media organizations, media newspaper names, television channel names, they are all, no, those are not medias, those are media organizations, and I can't say those media, those can be transparent enough to say them as television's organization. Those are not medias. Medias are light, medias are audio, medias are you, medias are people. Rajesh is asking about what is visual communications. Yes, visual communication started from Altamira.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, visual communication started from Altamira.
That
People
is
tried their effort with that kind of tool. They were so happy and they expressed themselves. And they say, think of that for last 30,000 years, that kind of colors are existing nowadays without loss. How come they make all those kind of colors? And the formal expressions. The gigantic value of those animals, they're killing those animals. Though so small, people were struggling. And with the advent of technology, who helps us to make the technology? People, we made our technology possible. We made our visual tools possible. We advent all those things. Definitely, capitalists use their money. But no, after modernist approaches, after the structuralist approach after 1960 onwards, how we can take over that cultural thing. Now in a Marxist manner, we can say, yes, our image is a body. Our image is a matter. Image is not only a virtual thing. And if we think that matter in a formal way, then it helps us to take the chance over the content.
Thank you, Anirban. Hopefully you know my role is there as a butcher. So just, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, thank you. Isn't very interesting, na? Actually, yes, sure, please. Student also, please, you can ask. Please, sir. Yes. কিন্তু খুব অল্প সময়ের মধ্যে উত্তর স্যার প্লিজ
হ্যাঁ শিওর বলুন
উনি বলছিলেন যে মানে পার্সপেক্টিভ তাল গাছের পার্সপেক্টিভটা যেটা বলছিলেন এটা তো মানে ক্যামেরার পেছনে যে আছে তাও পার্সপেক্টিভ কারণ ল্যান্ডস্কেপেও আমি নিতে পারি একটা ফুল ওয়াইডে সেখানে নিতে পারি আবার আমি এখনকার ভার্টিক্যাল হিসেবে শুধু তাল গাছের হিসেবে সেটা নিতে পারি এটা তো কিভাবে আমি দেখাতে চাইছি তার উপরে হবে ডিপেন্ড করবে তো এটা কি সিনেমার ক্ষেত্রে আপনি যখন ফার্স্ট স্টার্ট করলেন ডিওপি বা এই জিনিসটা যখন বলছেন তখন তো শুধু একজন ক্যামেরাম্যান বা সে ঠিক করছে না তখন তো আরও তার যে ডিরেক্টর আছে বা আরও যারা তারা সবাই মিলে ঠিক করবে যে ইমাজিনারিটা কী তৈরি হবে তো সেখানে কি কোথাও না কোথাও আপনার মনে হয় যে যাই অ্যাডভান্সমেন্ট হয়ে যাক বা যেটাই হোক সামওয়্যার দ্য মানে পার্সপেক্টিভ যেটা আমরা দেখাতে চাইছি সেটা কোথাও না কোথাও ইনবাউন্ড হচ্ছে বাই দ্য পার্সনস পার্সপেক্টিভ
হ্যাঁ আমি আপনার কি প্রশ্নটা শেষ হয়েছে
একদম
আচ্ছা রাজেশ এই প্রশ্নটাই একটু অন্যরকমভাবে করেছিল ভিজুয়াল কমিউনিকেশনসের জায়গা থেকে যে হোয়াট আর ভিজুয়ালস আমি আপনাকে এই উত্তরটা দিচ্ছি আমি বাংলাতে সংক্ষেপে আপনাকে উত্তরটা দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করি
এরকমভাবে ভেঙে বলার কারণ এটা হচ্ছে যে মানে এটা অনেকটা ভিজুয়াল কমিউনিকেশনটা কি সেটা অনেকটা বুঝলে তবে গিয়ে ওইভাবে আপনি যেটা বললেন সেটাতে বুঝতে সুবিধা হবে সেই জন্য আমি এটা ভেঙে জিজ্ঞেস করলাম
হ্যাঁ আমি বলছি যে আপনার প্রশ্নটা কিন্তু আমার যে বিষয় সেই বিষয়টা অনুযায়ী নয় আমার কথাটা হচ্ছে যে তালগাছটা তো তালগাছই সেটা হচ্ছে কন্টেন্ট সেটাকে আমি আড় করেও খেতে পারি সোজা করেও খেতে পারি মিষ্টির রুটির মতন মিষ্টিই লাগবে কিন্তু যদি ভার্টিক্যাল ফ্রেমটা না থাকতো তাহলে আমার কাছে সবসময়তেই আমি বাধ্য থাকতাম আটকে থাকতাম হরিজেন্টালি দেখাতে আর হরিজেন্টালি যদি গোটা একটা তালগাছকে দেখাতে হয় শুধু তালগাছ নয় তার সাথে আকাশ বাতাস তার চারপাশে অনেক ওয়াইডার সেন্স দেখা যায় কিন্তু যদি আমার একটা ভার্টিক্যাল সেন্স এসে পড়ে তখন আমি শুধু তালগাছটাতে গুরুত্ব দিতে পারি এই যে ফর্মাল চেঞ্জটা এটা তো একটা ফর্মাল চেঞ্জ এটা তো কন্টেন্টটাকে কোনোভাবে করছে না কিন্তু কন্টেন্টটাকে এফেক্ট করছে ফর্ম এখানে কন্টেন্টের উপর চড়ে বসছে কন্টেন্ট দিয়ে আমি ফর্মকে অনেক বেশি জাস্টিফাই করতে পারছি কন্টেন্টের অনেক কাছে যেতে পারছি
Thank you, Anirban. Thank you. Again, want to say on our paper, this paper for students and the other fellow scholars and the faculties. His papers also reads the importance of archival study. In our communication, the narrative of history of communications, the archival study is very important to build up the meta-analysis. It's a very important research methodology, the meta-analysis. This kind of archival study helps us to build up a narrative on meta-analysis. Thank you. And now I welcome Madam Rima De, Rima from Sister Nivedita University, and his paper, Rima is present here? Okay. And his paper after visual communication to another area of arts and aesthetics, because his thrust area explored the Tagore song, Tagore Songit in Bangla Cholochitro, and the impactness also. Again, another challenging presentation. Rima will going to present the impact of Rabindra Songit in Bangla Cholochitro. So it is continuity in School of Arts and Aesthetics again. Anirban again? Oh. Rima, please start. instead of introduction, come your objective. So better কি উনি ম্যাডাম আপনি কি একটু হোল্ড করবেন, আমরা কি নেক্সট এটাতে যাব?
স্যার আমি পিডিএফ থেকেই করে দিচ্ছি। অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমার বাংলা সিনেমা ছিল বলে আমি কিছু ক্লিপিংস রেখেছিলাম যেগুলোতে আমি আগেকার যে পার্সপেক্টিভে গান দেখানো হতো সিনেমাতে সেটা থেকে এখনকার
So if you are comfortable to present, then you can start.
স্যার তাহলে আমি একটা পরে
Sure, sure. So due to some technical glitches, Madam Rima De will present her paper, hopefully after 10 or 15 minutes. Now we welcome Bidisha Haldar. She is from Institute of Social and Cultural Studies, and her topic also reads about the social media. The thrust area is the social media, activism and the politics, the boon on the threat. Okay. Madam Bidisha Haldar. What's happened? Again, any technical problem or glitches? Network. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hello. Am I audible? Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to the Honorable Chair and my distinguished panelists and the students present here. So as you can see, my paper will talk about social media activism and politics of regime change. Like, to put it simply, I will try to raise the question, is social media equipped enough to lead to the downfall of any government? So in that regard, I'm going to talk about little bit about Arab Spring that happened in the early 2010s, Euromaidan, and the very recent incident that happened in Bangladesh. So I'll just, yeah. Oh, okay, nice, sorry. Okay, yeah. No, I don't, no, it's not going.
Ma'am, this one.
Okay.
Left and right.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the introduction part.
So I'm going to start with a quote, World War III by Marshall McLuhan, who is a media theorist, and he was also a philosopher. So he told this in the early 1970s around. He told World War III will be a guerrilla information warfare with no divisions between military and civilian participation. That's what we are all seeing nowadays. Everybody, we have thrown around this term called keyboard warriors. Everybody can talk about social changes, can take a participatory role in this, in social issues, and they can talk, they can do revolution using online medias like Facebook, Twitter, sometimes Instagram. So he predicted this. Being a media theorist, he predicted this, that things like this will happen. Now, as positive as it sounds, it can also have some downsides to it, and I'm going to get into that. So, as I told, the objective of my study is how social media activism has enabled regime change in many countries, and how such activism can have negative consequences even in democratic countries. Like the cases that I'm going to talk about, mostly authoritarian or allegedly authoritarian corrupted governments. But it can also have, since social media gives you content freedom, it can also have significant impact on democratic regimes, and if it gets into wrong hands, we might have dire consequences. So I'm going to get to the literature review in the end. I'm just going to get to the discussion and conclusion. So, what happened? Rest is not coming. Excuse me, rest is not coming. Is it coming? Okay, so I'm going to start with the Arab Spring first. So this is the power of social media. Now you will understand. So the picture that you can see is of a humble fruit and vegetable seller, Mohammed Bouazizi. Now what he did is, during the Zine El Abidine government, Ben Ali government in Tunisia, in early 2010 and 11, it used to be a very corrupted regime and very authoritarian regime. And this fruit seller, this fruit and vegetable seller, used to get harassed on a regular basis by the corrupted police of the government. What he did, one day he self-immolated himself. He put himself on fire and he burned himself in front of everyone. What happened next would lead to the Arab Spring. So this video was recorded and also the video of him getting hospitalized with all the burns got recorded, and the protests that started. All these videos were recorded by people and they were put on Facebook. They were uploaded on Facebook. Now this opened the Pandora's box in the Arab world. Everybody, all the governments throughout the Arabian, all the Middle Eastern governments who were authoritarian, the people there, they understood the pain. They resonated with the pain. And they thought, okay, this is not going right. We have to do something about it. And that is why videos and various visuals of the governments, of their corruption, used to, they were uploaded online and used to be shared online in large numbers, in a large amount. And people felt a connection, a communication was being built throughout the Arab world. So then they started uploading contents. Like in Facebook, in Facebook, another example I would like to take is, there's another video of the wife, the first lady of the Tunisian government, Tunisian President Ben Ali. There's a video of her getting onto, using her private jet. She's visiting the elite shopping destinations on Europe, and somebody uploaded that file on the internet, some media house or something. And soon, people got really angry because that had a deep psychological impact. This video, contrasting to Bouazizi's condition and all the condition of the poor people in Tunisia. They felt they had the these videos had the psychological impact. Like something wrong is going on, and we are deprived of the luxury that these elite people are living. So these two visuals were made great rounds on the internet. They were largely shared, widely shared by everyone. And they were like, okay, then trends started on social media. The hashtag was started on social media. Ben Ali keyword. Now I'm going to show you some graphs. Okay. So this is the graph of Ben Ali keyword on January 14th when Ben Ali resigned, and till March 16, when until all the government officials, whoever were associated with this government, all the bureaucrats, everything were driven out of the country, this keyword was at the top. From January to March, almost to March, so this keyword was used widespread. People were writing blogs about it, they were posting online, they were using hashtags on Twitter. And so the hashtag Sidi Bouzid, as you can see, it was all through this period, it was 13,262 tweets have been done using this hashtag. And almost as many as 2,200 tweets were being done on this topic, not only from Tunisia, but also from its neighboring countries and outside in other countries from the Arab region. So you can see the impact this has on the people of the Arab world. They felt this problem, they connected with this problem. And then also, same happened in Egypt also. In Egypt, you can see the picture, this is picture of a protest against Hosni Mubarak in Tahrir Square in Cairo. This video, this is a visual, this is a screenshot from the video. And this video was created in a very shaky hands using 2 megapixel mobile camera maybe, because it's in 2010. So, but this video got, the moment it was uploaded on YouTube, it got as many as 600,000 views within a few hours. This is the impact. Once you post something online, it will snowball into something that is beyond your imagination. It's called the ripple effect. So this is what happened. And next also, if I go into the Euromaidan protest against Viktor Yanukovych, the president Viktor Yanukovych, before Ukraine was got into all these wars and anything. So this simple tweet that, this Facebook post that you can see of Ukrainian journalist named Mustafa Naim in Ukrainian, what he told is a very simple thing, nothing provocative, very simple post he put up. He told, this is a day on November 2013 when Viktor Yanukovych refused to sign an agreement with European Union, and people got very angry because they wanted to get Ukraine to be integrated into the European Union. So he refused to sign a trade agreement. So Mustafa Naim, what he did, he put up a Facebook post, said, okay, let's be serious. Who is ready to go to the Maidan by tonight, by midnight today? Likes do not count, only comments under the post with the words, I am ready. As soon as more than 1,000 are collected, we will organize. So this is the single post that he posted, and that led to one of the biggest protests that Ukraine saw in history since its independence. It was the Euromaidan protest, which initially started in a peaceful manner, but soon became very bloody. This is the power of social media.
Madam, please come to your conclusion.
Yeah, sure. So these are some of the pages that were official pages of the Ukraine protest. Like on Twitter, there's at Euromaidan, and in Facebook also they had dedicated official pages which gave possible mobilization, which were used for mobilization and gave possible logistical support to the movement. Like one of the pages, Euromaidan SOS. It was kind of an information page that not only had information about the movement of the soldiers or the police, and also it also had information about where to find a sandwich shop if you are protesting, where to get hot tea in the Maidan if you are protesting, or who all are injured, who all are wounded, who have went missing because police abducted them. So these are all the logistical minute details. 250 volunteers used to manage this page, Euromaidan SOS. And then Euromaidan PR page internationalized the movement, globalized the movement. It used to, because unlike other pages, it used to tweet or post in English. The rest of the pages, they used to use Russian or Ukrainian language. So, and Bangladesh also, in Bangladesh government, the recent toppling of the Hasina government, we have seen that massive online campaign was going on against her. Now, we are not getting into the argument whether she was corrupted or authoritarian, whatever it is. That's left for the people in that country to decide. But then there's massive anti-Hasina campaign was going on for years before she was toppled. 2 years, not more than 2 years maybe, but then for years it was going on. So, this is the kind of tool that social media can equip people with, because social media offers a cheaper yet effective mode of interpersonal communication. Like I can communicate with you, or I can post something that thousands of people might see. Then it can also toolkits might be shared, because already in case of Egypt, toolkits of the protests were being shared, like how to organize a project. Okay, come to this Maidan, come to this, okay, we will hold a flag march in front of that embassy or something. So these minute details, the directions of the protest were dictated online, using some activists, the activists were using these toolkits to mobilize people. Anonymity, option of anonymity is there. You don't have to share your name or whereabouts once you're posting. Surveillance, surveilling the surveillors, the police, where police are beating the people, where police are abducting. Somebody is just taking out their phone and clicking video or shooting a video or clicking pictures. So you are surveilling the surveiller. Government is surveilling your activities, and you're surveilling the government, like which action government is taking. This is the power that social media has given to people. Freedom of content creation. Unlike traditional media, in this kind of media, you can post whatever you want to post online. Provocative speeches, videos, goring videos, anything you can post online with much less censorship as compared to traditional media. And finally, global outreach. Once you post something, it's for the whole world to see. That is this case we have seen in Bangladesh protests, because all throughout the world, wherever Bangladeshi the diasporas were there, they were standing in favor of the student protesters, and they were sending money, they were holding protests abroad, so they were participating in their own way. Now, how is this threatening? Now, this is my main portion. How is this has a downside also?
Ma'am, time is over, I am requesting.
Just 1 minute, sir, just for wrap up. So this has an impact in a democratic government also, because in democratic government we have lesser censorship, much more media freedom. So we don't know actually what kind of contents our audience are consuming, youths are consuming. So like this is a as you can see, it's an Indian Express article, Amir Khan's fake video on Congress. There's a video was shown that Amir Khan was urging people to vote for Congress just before this Lok Sabha election. Then Amir Khan had to go out of his way, had to file an FIR. This is a fake video, AI generated video, and this can be harmful for our country. So in the democratic country also, some interest groups might have their own agenda and might use this kind of platforms to raise a false activism, to incite people, provoke people to act up against government. They might just do a violence somewhere and then blame it on the government.
Please, time is over.
Yeah,
already 18 minutes is over.
Yeah. So my conclusion to this is we should all have some kind of media literacy and some kind of media skepticism that we need to follow while consuming contents online. Like not everything you see on the internet should be believed, and not every activism that is done against the government or in favor of the government should be seen in a positive way. It can have underlying agenda also. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Just I'm requesting to open your slide number 1.
Okay, slide number 1, right.
And that slide, I hope the introduction. The very first word, I hope, it was Marshall McLuhan.
Yeah.
Yeah, just open.
Yes, sir. Oh, it went down.
Okay, it's okay. The first word was the Marshall McLuhan.
Yeah.
I hope it was in 1964 of understanding the
around
media.
the 60s or 70s.
64 onwards. And in the year 1969, his elder son, Eric McLuhan, he coined a term, media ecology. Actually, ma'am, your paper the framework is outstanding. No doubt it's a very good paper. But problem is on media ecology. The domain of your paper from Arab Spring to Misr, from Misr to Bangladesh, from Bangladesh to 2024 Lok Sabha election, it's much more broad. If you want to develop your paper, there are two important catalysts are there. One is activism, one side. Another is political narrative, political warfare, political electoral politics, or etc. So between these two components, the role or impact or usage of the social media, that's the bottom line concept.
That is
So it's my suggestion just to focus on specific ecology of media, maybe over on Bangladesh. You uttered the term diaspora. You uttered the term literacy. Okay, if you want to develop the diasporic conception of social media from Arab Spring to Mission to Bangladesh, impossible to develop a paper.
Exactly.
Okay, so your framework is okay, but to some extent, just you go with Eric McLuhan instead of Marshall McLuhan. Okay. Should define the media ecology, which area you want to focus. Otherwise, framework is very good. Okay, thank you. This is the just one observation.
No, thank you, sir. That's true. Actually, I have taken these cases because I know also that contextualization is very important. But I have somewhere seen parallel between, like it's written more extensively in the paper.
Maybe you just focused on the Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Like
there are parallel with
Bangladesh.
the movement. Same toolkits are being used in Euromaidan and in Arab Spring. So I have seen you can see the parallel in the media activism.
In these kind of conclave or seminar or conference, why we are discussion or going to paper represent, just to build up a working paper kind of publication or etc. But in case of journal or article publication, it should be very defined. Okay, and they are very careful. Yes, just to it's just an interaction, not any kind of any queries or etc. So I'm requesting focused on the media ecology. Otherwise, framework is outstanding.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. And now you have some questions. Thank you.
Questions.
Your name, please, first.
Devdatta Mitra. First of all, very engaging paper. Thank you. I had a very basic question. Can you tell me about, or can you tell us about the age group or the demographic? Because you were talking about social media and misinformation. So, have you taken that into account?
Yeah, I have actually. The age group, which it's very slippery slope, because initially the movement, since you have to consider it's not this age, it's not after 2020, it's in 2010, and Euromaidan happened in 2013-14. So in early that time, social media like these days, it was not very accessible to everyone. So lot of controversy is in this topic has been raised, many scholars have contradicted what kind of age group you're taking. So in Euromaidan, some scholars are saying mostly people around in their late 20s or 30s were there, and then some were saying no, people in the 60s, 50s, and in their 50s and 60s are also there. So now question comes then, if this 30 to 20 people, we can understand they are using social media. But then what about the rest of what about the people who are elderly? So in that case, role of the traditional media was also taken into account, which I haven't because the limitation of the paper. So here a little bit to I cannot completely dedicate the whole movement to the social media also, because the social media started this thing, but then when it was amplified by the traditional media, to be very honest. So that is the thing. So in target age groups, in that sense, in this era, it cannot be understood.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, I see. Rajesh suggested you to use the name of Eric McLuhan instead of. I want to put one question here. That in 1931, Walter Benjamin wrote an article called On Photography, and it developed in 1940. In 1940, he actually suicided, and that suicide communist against the Nazis. He got out of it. But before that, art in the age of mechanical reproductions. So what you said is basically a reproduced kind of thing, and you count the number. But what's the results of the number? Arab Spring, what's the result? Now the results in the Arab Spring, and now in the Bangladesh, what's the results? Just let's go with the results. Because the future of the number game, futures of the mechanical reproductions are basically, it's countable. Okay, so thinking in that way also, if you go with that thing in your paper, it will be, say, more helpful to us.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And her point is very important to build up the control over on sampling. Otherwise, your epistemology or ontology will be overlapped. Her point is very important.
Very valid point.
Thank you. So now we welcome the Tagore song. Madam Rima De, she's from Sister Nivedita University, and she will try to explain the impact of Tagore song, Rabindra Sangeet, in Bangla Cholochitra. Madam, please. প্রবলেমটা ওভারকাম করা যায়নি?
না।
Then how we could communicate? Support করেনি this. Excuse me, volunteer. Someone support করছে না এটা, ওকে। Done.
So
লুজ হচ্ছে, ঠিক।
মনে হয় ঠিক হবে। এত তথ্যবহুল আলোচনার পরে আমরা ফিরে আসি একটু বাংলা সিনেমাতে। তো আমার বিষয় দেখা যাচ্ছে এখানে বাংলা সঙ্গীতে রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীতের প্রভাব। বিষয়ের মধ্যে দুটো জিনিস আছে, একটা হচ্ছে বাংলা সিনেমা এবং 2 নাম্বার হচ্ছে রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত। বাংলা সিনেমা, যদি আমরা দেখি যে বাংলা সিনেমার ব্যবহার এবং বাংলা সিনেমাতে রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীতের ব্যবহার, তাহলে আমাদের বিভিন্ন তথ্য আমরা পাই যে বাংলা সিনেমা যখন থেকে শুরু হয়েছিল, বলা যায় 1906 সাল থেকে বাংলা সিনেমার একটা প্রযুক্তিগত দিক আমরা দেখতে পাই, কিন্তু 1908-এ গিয়ে প্রথম রেকর্ডেড রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত
কনটেক্সটে চলে আসুন রিগার্ডিং টেগোর সং।
ওকে,
ইট উইল বি বেটার।
প্রথম রেকর্ডেড রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত হিসাবে আমরা পেলাম কি, ওই ভুবন মোহিনী রেকর্ড করেছিলেন পিসি বোস নিকল রেকর্ডে, কিন্তু এটা কিন্তু বাংলা সিনেমার গান নয়। প্রথম বাংলা সিনেমাতে যদি আমরা গান দেখতে পাই, এখানে অনেক তথ্য আছে কিন্তু সময় বেশি নেই বলে আমরা সেই তথ্যের মধ্যে যেতে পারছি না। আমরা সকলেই জানি যে নটির পূজা, বাংলায় রবীন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুরের লেখা অন্যতম একটি নাটক হচ্ছে নটির পূজা। এক্ষেত্রে বলা যায় নটির পূজা 1932-এ নটির পূজা প্রথম বাংলা সিনেমা হিসাবে কিন্তু মুক্তি পায়, এবং বলা যেতে পারে এটাই প্রথম সিনেমা যেখানে রবীন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুর সিনেমা পরিচালনা করেন, এবং নটির পূজার সমস্ত গানগুলো কিন্তু এই সিনেমাতে ছিল। এরপরে মুক্তি, 1937-এ যখন মুক্তি সিনেমা আসে, মুক্তি সিনেমাতে কিন্তু রবীন্দ্রনাথের গানের জগতে একটা অন্যতম প্রভাব ফেলেছিল। তার কারণ হচ্ছে মুক্তি সিনেমাতে যে গানগুলো ব্যবহৃত হয় সেই গানগুলি তখন অলরেডি সবাক চিত্র চলে এসছে এবং সবাক চিত্রে রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান পরিবেশিত হতে শুরু করেছে। এরপর বিভিন্ন তথ্য আমরা যদি দেখি, বিভিন্ন সিনেমার জগতের তথ্য থেকে 1932 থেকে 1959 পর্যন্ত প্রতি বছরই বিভিন্ন বাংলা সিনেমা আমরা দেখতে পাই, তাতে শতাধিক গানের ইউজ হয়েছে। 1932 থেকে 1960 পর্যন্ত প্রায় শতাধিক সিনেমা আমরা পেয়ে থাকি। তার তথ্য আমি আমার এই স্লাইডের মধ্যে দিতে পারিনি, কিন্তু আমার জার্নালে পুরোটা আছে। সেই শতাধিক গান এবং শতাধিক পরিচালক, সঙ্গীত পরিচালককে আমরা কিন্তু এই সময়ের মধ্যে পাচ্ছি। কখন থেকে বাংলা সিনেমা রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীতকে আরও বেশি করে রিপ্রেজেন্ট করলো? মেঘে ঢাকা তারা, আমরা সকলেই জানি ঋত্বিক ঘটকের মেঘে ঢাকা তারা, এবং যে গানটা এখনও পর্যন্ত ইউটিউব বা সোশ্যাল মিডিয়ায় সার্চ করলে দেখতে পাওয়া যাবে, যার ভিউয়ার্স এখনও পর্যন্ত সব থেকে বেশি। এই মেঘে ঢাকা তারায় যে রাতে মোর দুয়ারগুলি গানটি যখন পরিবেশিত হলো, সেই গানটা দর্শকের কাছে একটা মাস অ্যাপিল নিয়ে এলো। গানটার মধ্যে যে প্রযুক্তিগত দিক ছিল এবং তার যে ব্যবহারিক দিক, সেই ব্যবহারিক দিক গানটি সমস্ত ভাবনা চিন্তাকেই পাল্টে দিল, এবং রবীন্দ্রনাথের গানের একটা অন্যতম তথ্য প্রযুক্তিগত দিক দেখা গেল এই মেঘে ঢাকা তারা হাত ধরে বলা যেতে পারে। 1961 প্রায় 40টি বাংলা সিনেমায় রবীন্দ্রনাথের গানের প্রয়োগ দেখা যায়। তার কারণ ছিল এটা কবিগুরুর জন্মশতবর্ষ। ঋত্বিক ঘটক নিজেই আবার পরিচালনা করলেন কোমল গান্ধার। কোমল গান্ধার রবীন্দ্রনাথের কবিতা, এবং সেই কোমল গান্ধার কবিতা থেকেই ঋত্বিক ঘটক তার সিনেমা তৈরি করলেন একই নামে কোমল গান্ধার। এবং সেখানে যে গানটি এলো, আমি গানগুলো শোনানোর জন্য এখানে ক্লিপিংস রেখেছিলাম, কিন্তু তার নেটের ব্যবহারের জন্য সেটা আমি শোনাতে পারছি না। যে গানটি আমরা পেলাম সেখানে দেবব্রত বিশ্বাসের কণ্ঠে আকাশ ভরা সূর্যতারা, এবং গানটি এখনও পর্যন্ত আকাশ ভরা সূর্যতারা যদি ইউটিউবে সার্চ করি বা সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াতে আমরা যদি সার্চ করি, আকাশ ভরা সূর্যতারা গানটা কিন্তু প্রথম দেবব্রত বিশ্বাসের কণ্ঠেই পাওয়া যায়, এবং এখনও পর্যন্ত মনে হয় গানটি সবথেকে বেশি জনপ্রিয়। ধীরে ধীরে ঋত্বিক ঘটকের পরে আমরা যদি আরও দেখি, তরুণ মজুমদারের হাত ধরে বাংলা সিনেমায় রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান অনেক সম্প্রচারিত হয়েছে। ব্যাপক রকমভাবে একটা বিস্তার ঘটল সত্যজিৎ রায়ের হাত ধরে। সত্যজিৎ রায়ের হাত ধরে বাংলা সিনেমাতে রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত শুধুমাত্র প্রচার মাধ্যমে রইল না, রুচিসম্পন্ন শিল্পজনিত প্রকাশ ঘটল। সুভাষ চৌধুরীকে দেওয়া একটা সাক্ষাৎকারে সত্যজিৎ রায় বললেন যে গ্রাম সমাজ শহর সমাজের মধ্যে প্রচণ্ড একটা তফাৎ রয়ে গেছে। গ্রাম সমাজ কিছুটা করে শহরের দিকে এগিয়ে আসছে ঠিক কথাই, কিন্তু তা বলে এমন তো হয়নি দুটো একাকার হয়ে গেছে। সেই জন্য আমার মনে হয় রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান শিক্ষিতদের গান। এখনও পর্যন্ত মনে হয় রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান শিক্ষিতদের গানই রয়ে গেছে। সাধারণ শ্রোতা রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান শুনতে বা গাইতে কিন্তু, বা সাধারণ যে শিল্পী গাইতে কিন্তু খুব একটা জনসমাজে এখনও পর্যন্ত অভ্যস্ত নন। তার ব্যবহার কিভাবে হলো? কাঞ্চনজঙ্ঘা সিনেমাতে আমরা যখন এই পরবাসীর রবেকে গানটা শুনি যখন, এই গানটা সম্বন্ধে অনেকে অনেক তথ্য জানেন না, কিন্তু কাঞ্চনজঙ্ঘা সিনেমাতে যখন রবীন্দ্রনাথ ইউজ করলেন এই পরবাসীর রবেকে, সেই যে চিত্রায়ন এবং তার যে প্রতিফলন, তা কিন্তু একটা ব্যাপক হারে জনসমাজে এবং শ্রোতার সমাজে তার ইম্প্যাক্ট ফেলে। এরপরে ধীরে ধীরে সমাজ বদলেছে এবং রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান এবং বাংলা চলচ্চিত্রের জগৎ বদলেছে বলা যায়, তার ব্যবহার বদলেছে বলা যায়, এবং তার প্রভাবও বদলেছে বলা যায়। রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান শুধুমাত্র চিত্রায়নের জন্য ব্যবহৃত হয়নি, সেখান থেকে উঠে এসে ভাব প্রকাশের জন্য ব্যবহৃত হয়েছে, যা সব সময়তে রবীন্দ্রনাথ আমাদের হাত ধরে করে নিয়ে গেছেন। 2001 সালে কপিরাইট উঠে যায় রবীন্দ্রনাথের গানের, এবং রবীন্দ্রনাথের যে সমস্ত সৃষ্টিকার্যে কপিরাইট উঠে যায়। দেখা যায় যে শুধুমাত্র সম্পূর্ণ গান হিসাবে নয়, গানের সিনেমাতে বিভিন্ন ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড হিসাবে, এবং কোনো সময় হয়তো রবীন্দ্রনাথের গানে কোনো মিউজিক, কোনো সময় হয়তো থিম সং হিসাবে রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান কিন্তু ব্যবহৃত হয়েছে এবং এখনো পর্যন্ত হয়ে চলেছে। এখানে একটি গান 2007 সালে দ্য লাস্ট লিয়ার সিনেমাতে, আজি ঝড়ের রাতে তোমার অভিসার, গানটি শোনাতে পারলে খুব ভালো হতো। এখানে এই রশিদ খানের কণ্ঠে যখন আজি ঝড়ের রাতে তোমার অভিসার আমরা দ্য লাস্ট লিয়ার সিনেমাতে শুনি, তখন দেখা যায় যে রশিদজি কিন্তু তার নিজের মতো করেই গানটি গেয়েছেন। অর্থাৎ
বলা যেতে পারে রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান ইম্প্রোভাইজেশন কিন্তু অলরেডি বাংলা সিনেমাতে ব্যবহার হয়েছে এবং হয়ে চলেছে। আমি একদম শেষ পর্যায়ে চলে এলাম। রবীন্দ্রনাথ ছিলেন চিরকাল সার্বজনীন, এবং জীবিত অবস্থাতেও তিনি পরিচালককে প্রয়োজনীয়তা অনুসারে প্রেক্ষাপট পরিবর্তনের মত দিয়েছেন। তার গান আমাদের জীবনের অবিচ্ছেদ্য অংশ ছিল এবং থাকবে। এবং যখনই বলা যায় যে মানুষের যখনই ভাষার অভাব পড়বে, যখনই হয়তো বোধের অভাব পড়বে, তখন রবীন্দ্রনাথের গান সেই বোধ ব্যক্ত করতে এগিয়ে নিয়ে যাবে আমাদের। এই বলে আমি আজকে আমার বক্তব্য শেষ করছি। ধন্যবাদ।
থ্যাংক ইউ রিমা। আপনাকে বলার আগে আমি জিজ্ঞাসা করি, আপনি কি স্টুডেন্ট অর দ্য ফ্যাকাল্টি, মানে জাস্ট?
আমি রিসার্চ স্কলার।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে দুটো বা তিনটে জিনিস বলি এখানে। হোয়াট ইজ দ্য অবজেক্টিভ? জাস্ট একটা হিস্ট্রিক্যাল আপনি বলে গেছেন। তো পেপারটা যতদূর মনে হচ্ছে যে কালচারাল রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন, এটা এরিয়া কালচারাল রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন। এবার ফ্রম আর্লি বেঙ্গলি সিনেমা, তার থেকে আজকে 2024, এই 100 ইয়ার্সের ইম্পসিবল না একটা কালচারাল রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন ওভার অন টেগোর সং। মানে আমি জাস্ট ওয়ান্ট টু নো ফ্রম ইউ দ্য অবজেক্টিভটা কি, কি জিনিসটা, কোন ইস্যুটা আই ওয়ান্ট টু এক্সপ্লোর।
শোনানোর চেষ্টা করছিলাম যে তখন যে পার্সপেক্টিভে গানগুলো ইউজ করা হতো, এখন যে পার্সপেক্টিভে ইউজ করা হয় সেটা।
ব্যাস, বুঝলাম। তাহলে যদি হয় তাহলে 100 ইয়ার্সের টাইম ফ্রেমটা একটু বিরাট।
হ্যাঁ।
সেকেন্ড, এই যে বলছেন কি পার্সপেক্টিভে, আপনি দু একটা এক্সাম্পলও দিচ্ছেন, তাহলে হোয়াই টেগোর সং ইন 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 বেঙ্গলি ফিল্মস, এরকম একটা কোশ্চেন আসতে পারে। সেটা আবার ইম্প্রোভাইজেশনের কথা আপনি এনেছেন, বাট বেসিক্যালি যে কেন হয় সেটা আমরা উত্তর পেলাম না। সেটা কি আপনার কোনো ক্যারেক্টার ডেভেলপমেন্ট, নাকি ইমোশন ডেভেলপমেন্ট, নাকি এস্থেটিক আর্টসের ফ্রেম ডেভেলপমেন্ট? আপনি মেনশন করেছেন সত্যজিৎ রায় ইন চারুলতা। দ্য ফেমাস সং কোনটা চারুলতার? এনিওয়ান? চারুলতার বিখ্যাত রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত? আরে তারও আগে আরেকটা সৌমিত্র শুয়ে আছে 45 ডিগ্রিতে, মাধবী ফুলে ফুলে ডোলে ডোলে, তাই তো? সিম্পল হারমোনিক মোশন, পা এসে টাচ করছে, বেরিয়ে যাচ্ছে, 45-এর দিকে তাকিয়ে আছে কিন্তু সৌমিত্র। মাধবী ওয়ান অফ দ্য প্রোটাগনিস্ট ক্যারেক্টার, তার হাজবেন্ড আছে, স্টিরিওটাইপ ফ্যামিলি, সে রিটেন করবে। সৌমিত্র তার একটা কাইন্ড অফ লাভ অর অ্যাফেকশন মাধবীর দিকে। সিম্পল হারমোনিক মোশন দেখবেন পাটা এসে লাগছে, টাচ করে বেরিয়ে যাচ্ছে, স্তাদাল থিওরি। আমার রিকোয়েস্ট, ইন ফিউচার যদি মনে করেন টেগোর সং নিয়ে এগোবেন, ঠিক করে নিন যে কোন পর্যায়ে ধরব। প্রেম, প্রকৃতি, পূজা, বিচিত্র, স্বদেশ, কোন পর্যায়টাকে আমি ধরবো, ন্যারো ডাউন করুন। ঘরে বাইরেতে স্বদেশ পর্যায়ের গান আছে, পর্যায়টাকে আগে ধরুন, টাইম ফ্রেমটাকে বাঁধুন। দেন রসা থিওরি, RASA থিওরি, কাম টু রসা থিওরি। রসা থিওরি ছাড়া আপনি টেগোর এস্থেটিক্সকে এক্সপ্লেন করতে পারবেন না। দ্য ফেমাস বুক ইজ রেবা সোম, প্রশান্ত চৌধুরী, এক্সেট্রা। কাম টু দ্য রসা থিওরি। ফার্স্ট পর্যায়, দেন রসা থিওরিকে আপনাকে হেল্প করবে, টাইম ফ্রেম, অ্যান্ড লাস্ট ওয়ান ইউ টোল দ্য ইম্প্রোভাইজেশন। একই থিওরি, একই কন্টেন্ট, তার ডিগ্রি অফ ইম্প্রোভাইজেশন ইন সিলেক্টেড বেঙ্গলি ফিল্ম। মেবি ফ্রম, আপনি মেনশন করেছেন তরুণ মজুমদার, বিশাল হয়ে গেছে না? ফ্রম সত্যজিৎ, ঋত্বিক, ঋতুপর্ণ, তরুণ মজুমদার, হিউজ। দরকার নেই, খুব ছোট, জাস্ট সত্যজিৎ, এনাফ। লাস্ট পয়েন্ট, how to develop your narrative. One is dialogic action, সেকেন্ড ইজ ডায়ালেকটিক অ্যাকশন, করে আপনার ইচ্ছে অনুযায়ী আপনি চলে যেতে পারেন ডিসকোর্স অ্যান্ড অর সাইকো অ্যানালিসিস। আদারওয়াইজ এটা ইজ এ কাইন্ড অফ হিস্টোরিক্যাল এসে মনে হয়েছে। ওকে, তাহলে এই প্ল্যাটফর্ম সিস্টার নিবেদিতা যেটা আমাদের দিয়েছে টু ডেভেলপ আ রিসার্চ ওরিয়েন্টেশন, কনসেপ্ট ইজ ভেরি গুড, বাট এটাকে ন্যারো ডাউন করে একটা রিসার্চের জায়গা আনলে,
থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ।
thank you ma'am, thank you. At least you raise these concept na, so that in this platform, no sir, আমিও 4টে বই পড়ে হয়েছি। আমার জন্মদিনে তো নার্সিংহোমের থেকে আমি পড়ে আসিনি, আপনার আমার মতে জাস্ট 2টো বই পড়া না পড়ার সম্পর্ক, কিছু না। 2 বছর আগে হয়তো আমিও জানতাম না। থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম। সো নেক্সট ইজ কাজল, am I? Yes, Kajol Dotto, she is also from Sister Nivedita University. And Kajol wants to develop innocence lost in the digital age. Is a statement. Innocence lost in the digital age. Then the urgent need of children's online safety. That is a point blank. Acha, rest of students is a kind of Mon Ki Baat. Is a monologue হয়ে যাচ্ছে। Should be dialogic action. ম্যাডাম টেগোর নিয়ে বললেন, তার আগের একজন বলেছেন সোশ্যাল মিডিয়া নিয়ে, সবাই সোশ্যাল মিডিয়া অ্যাক্সেস করছো, আদারওয়াইজ দ্য প্ল্যাটফর্ম লুকস লাইক এ কাইন্ড অফ ফেমাস মন কি বাত, একজনই বলে। মেক ইন অ্যান ডায়ালগিক অ্যাকশন, প্লিজ রেইজ কোশ্চেন্স, Kajol, please start.
So my topic is innocence lost in digital age, urgent need for children's online safety protection. So যেটা প্রথমে আপনি বললেন যে আমি এটা স্টেটমেন্ট দিয়েছি, তো সেটার ক্ষেত্রে আমি একটু বলতে চাই যে আমার আরেকটা রিসার্চ যেটা আমার মেইন পিএইচডি থেসিসে, সেটাই হচ্ছে যে চিলড্রেন রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন ইন ডিজিটাল এজ। তো সেইটার পার্সপেক্টিভে আমি এটা করেছি।
When you use this phrase urgent need, that what will be your objective? Already come in conclusion that in this sphere, in this digital age, innocence lost in the digital age. Okay, I feel is a kind of direct concluding headline. Headline should be very broad. Headline should be very multifaceted. Why? Because headline explore lots of debate and discussions. From headline, you try to execute your review of literature.
Yes.
Okay, so try to make it very broad. Okay, ma'am, please start. Thank you, please start.
সো ফার্স্টে যেটা আমাদের চিলড্রেনের কথা আসছে, চিলড্রেন মানে আমরা জানি চিলড্রেনস আর আওয়ার ফিউচার। তো এই ফিউচার বা এই ভবিষ্যৎকে সুরক্ষিত করার দায়িত্ব আমাদের, কিন্তু আদেও কি আমরা সুরক্ষিত করতে পারছি? নিশ্চয়ই না। তার কারণে আমাদের এত রকমের কেস দেখা যাচ্ছে। মিনিমাম একটা মাসে একটা অন্তত কেস আমরা দেখতেই পাই যেটা হিউম্যান ট্রাফিকিং, চাইল্ড অ্যাবিউজ, চাইল্ড হ্যারাসমেন্ট কেস যেটা থাকে। তো সেটার জন্য আমাদের অনলাইন সেফটি এই ব্যাপারটার টার্মটাও অনেকে জানেন না। মানে অনেক প্যারেন্টস আছে যারা খুব সাধারণ মানুষ, তারা হয়তো ভালোভাবে নিজেরাই ফোন ইউজ করতে ভালোভাবে জানে না, কিন্তু তাদের চিলড্রেনরা ফেসবুক, ইনস্টাগ্রাম, হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ সব জায়গাতেই অ্যাক্টিভ। তো তারা কিভাবে মানে তাদেরকে প্রোটেকশন দেওয়া হবে? লজ তো অনেক রয়েছে, কিন্তু লজ থাকা সত্ত্বেও লজ আছে মানে ক্রাইম থাকবেই, কিন্তু সেই ক্রাইমটা কিভাবে আটকানো যায় সেটার জন্য আমার রিসার্চ করা হয়েছে। কিছু মেথড ইউজ করেছি আমি, যেখানে যে তাদের ব্যাপারে জানার জন্য যে তাদের প্যারেন্টসদের বা এক্সপার্টসরা কী ভাবছে বা এক্সপার্টসরা কী করেছে। সো এখান থেকে আমার ফার্স্ট হচ্ছে প্রবলেম অফ স্টেটমেন্টস হচ্ছে অনলাইন চাইল্ড অ্যাবিউজ অ্যান্ড এক্সপ্লয়টেশন অন দ্য রাইজ। Second one, cyberbullying and online harassment have devastating consequences. Third one, existing laws and regulation inadequate. And fourth and important, parental awareness and education crucial. Parents যেখান থেকে এডুকেশন স্টার্ট হয়, আমাদের শুরু হয়, কিভাবে আমরা নিজেদের শিক্ষা শুরু করি, তার নিজেদের পড়াশোনার থেকে শুরু করে সব কিছু শিক্ষা প্যারেন্টস থেকে পাওয়া যায়। প্যারেন্টস অ্যান্ড স্কুল বা কোনো এডুকেশন জায়গা যেখানে বেশিরভাগ টাইম চিলড্রেন্সরা থাকে, তো সেক্ষেত্রে সেখানে যদি এডুকেশন ঠিকভাবে দেওয়া হয় তাহলে ক্রাইম রেট হয়তো কমতে পারে। So my objective examine current state of online child safety in India, identify weaknesses in existing security measures and provide practical approaches to ensure online safety.
তুমি ডাইরেক্ট এতে এসো। ওকে, হোল্ড মেথোডোলজি কোয়ালিটেটিভ কেস স্টাডি।
মেথোডোলজিতে আমি কোয়ালিটেটিভ অ্যাপ্রোচ।
ওকে, তুমি ডাইরেক্ট ফাইন্ডিংস অ্যান্ড কনক্লুশনে এসো।
ওকে,
জাস্ট ওয়ান পয়েন্ট, তোমার ফার্স্ট ওয়ান স্লাইডটা কি ছিল? জাস্ট একটাই মেনশন করব।
রিসার্চ অবজেক্ট।
তার আগের
প্রবলেম স্টেটমেন্ট।
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ, ক্যারি অন। জাস্ট ফাইন্ডিংস অ্যান্ড কনক্লুশন।
ওকে, রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজিতে আমি কেস স্টাডিজ অ্যান্ড ইন্টারভিউ দুটোই করেছি, যেখানে ইন্টারভিউ নেওয়ার পর যে কি ফাইন্ডিংসটা পাওয়া গিয়েছে সেটা ফার্স্ট হচ্ছে চিলড্রেন্স অনলাইন রিস্ক টেকিং বিহেভিয়ার ইনক্রিজিং উইথ এজ, বয়েজ এঙ্গেজিং ইজ মোর অনলাইন রিস্ক টেকিং বিহেভিয়ার দেন গার্লস, parent child communication about online safety inadequate and significant gaps in digital literacy skills. এগুলো ইন্টারভিউর মাধ্যমে পাওয়া একটা রেজাল্ট। এছাড়াও প্যারেন্টাল কনসার্ন কিছু ছিল, যেটা যার মধ্যে আছে সাইবার বুলিং অ্যান্ড অনলাইন হ্যারাসমেন্ট, অনলাইন প্রেডিয়েটার্স অ্যান্ড এক্সপ্লয়টেশন, ইন্টারনেট অ্যাডিকশন অ্যান্ড মেন্টাল হেলথ ইম্প্যাক্টস। এইগুলো কিছু এক্সপার্টের থেকে পাওয়া অনলাইন সেফটি মেজার্স, যেখানে প্যারেন্টাল গাইডেন্স অ্যান্ড এডুকেশনের ব্যাপারে ওরা কথা বলেছে, মনিটরিং সফটওয়্যার অ্যান্ড ব্রাউজিং হিস্ট্রি, এছাড়া স্ট্রং পাসওয়ার্ড অ্যান্ড 2-factor অথেন্টিকেশন অ্যান্ড ওপেন কমিউনিকেশন অ্যান্ড রিপোর্টিং মেকানিজমে নিয়ে কিছু এক্সপার্টস তাদের ইন্টারভিউ এবং নিজেদের ওপিনিয়ন্স দিয়েছে, যেটা আমার পেপারে রয়েছে। আচ্ছা, কেস স্টাডিজ যে এই কটা কেস নিয়ে আমি অ্যানালিসিস করেছি। ফার্স্ট, অপারেশন মেক চক্র 2019, যেখানে সিবিআই 100 জনের ওপর 100 জনকে অ্যারেস্ট করেছিল, একটা পুরো নেশন ওয়াইড একটা সেভারাল চাইল্ডকে অনলাইন অ্যাবিউজিং কেস থেকে ওরা উদ্ধার করেছিল, যেটা 100 থেকেও বেশি জনকে অ্যারেস্ট করা হয়েছিল। অ্যান্ড সেকেন্ড ওয়ান, ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল হিউম্যান ট্রাফিকিং কেস, যেখানে 12 জন মাইনরকে উদ্ধার করা হয়েছিল ডিপার্টমেন্ট থেকে এবং 14 জনকে অ্যারেস্ট করা হয়েছিল। সেম হয়েছিল তামিলনাড়ুর হিউম্যান ট্রাফিকিং কেস 2020-তে, যেখানে 5 জন অ্যারেস্ট হয়েছিল।
প্লিজ কাম ইওর কনক্লুশন পার্ট।
ওকে, so conclusion, collective action necessary to address online safety concerns, comprehensive measures required to protect children online, and parental awareness and education crucial. এইটাই আমার কনক্লুশন।
থ্যাংক ইউ। জাস্ট ওয়ান পয়েন্ট, ওই ইন্টারভিউ কথাটার বলো না, বিং অ্যান্ড রিসার্চার, আইদার ইট উইল বি আইডিআই ইন ডেপথ ইন্টারভিউ অর দ্য রাইট পার্সন, কোন ইন্টারভিউ নিয়েছো, অর KII কি ইনফরমেশন। হ্যাঁ, যাচ্ছি না, বাট স্ট্রাকচার কিন্তু স্ট্রং করতে হবে, স্ট্রাকচার কিন্তু খুব এদিক ওদিক আছে। হ্যাঁ,
এটা আমার যেহেতু মানে এখনো পর্যন্ত ফার্স্ট
এপিস্টেমোলজি অন্টোলজি অনেকটা গ্যাপ। ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ। আজকে টাইমও কম, আর পারলে ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল চাইল্ড অ্যান্ড প্রোটেকশন রাইটের যে অফিস সেখানে একটু যোগাযোগ করো। দে হ্যাভ এ হিউজ কেস স্টাডিজ আর দেয়ার, দিজ আর নট দ্য কেস স্টাডিজ অ্যারেস্ট করা হয়েছে, তোমার থিওরির সাথে যাবে না। ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ। নেক্সট, আবিরা চৌধুরী। Abira topics related with animated memes or the emojis.
Yes, ma'am, I'm but দেখছি। আচ্ছা, আমি দেখছি 1 2 3 ম্যাম কেটে দেবেন না, ঠিক আছে? নেক্সটটা কোথায় নিয়ে যাওয়া যাচ্ছে? নিচে, এটা নিচে। ওকে।
Very good afternoon to everyone present here. The area of my study is role of animation, memes and emojis in social media communication. As you can see, I have actually quoted out, it has emerged out after the study, it has emerged out as a powerful tool of self-expression among young netizens. So let us explore how it has emerged out. Social media today is undoubtedly a huge platform for communication and connection with the audience. The social media users today are not just consumers, but are vocal creators and evaluators of the content. It involves not just words, but a huge amount of animation, pictures, and graphics as a medium of conveying thoughts. This study examined the causes of ever-increasing use of emojis and memes by youngsters in social media communication and its impact. This research is based on the perception, intention, and experience of 32 chosen respondents, 17 males and 15 female undergraduate students from 2 private colleges of Kolkata who are frequent and active users of Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Next, I would move on to what we actually mean by animation memes or internet memes. Internet memes are often seen as online pictures
So,
with
ma'am,
overlaying
directly come
text.
to objective findings and conclusions.
Okay, sir.
Yes, what is the objective?
The purpose of this research is to study the extent and nature of impact created by the use of internet memes and emojis in the process of social media communication and the reason behind its growing popularity. This research has been carried out by a qualitative analysis of the data gathered from semi-structured interviews consisting of 3 focus group discussions, and the study is an interpretative analysis done by using the discourse technique. Well, to present a gist of the findings, what I have observed after the data analysis is that 100% respondents, irrespective of gender, use memes and emojis for social media communication, not just pertaining to socio-psychological context, but also in political, economic context as well. So it is not just a day-to-day life communication where memes and animations are used, but it is a very strong tool of expressing one's opinion on certain critical issues as well. Memes generate mass response easily. Means what is the reason for their popularity? The reason comes as memes generate mass response easily as they travel to a varied audience without the concern of language used, and its users do not need to ponder on vocabulary stock to express their exact thoughts. Means it can actually cross the language barrier, one of the biggest barrier to communication. An emoji or smiley considered as the easiest and the most convenient tool to express their feelings of rejection or appreciation without being too serious. The use of smiling emoji, love emoji, or hate emoji takes just a few seconds to express a feeling. The next reason for their growing popularity reveals that an emoji can simplify communication process and pattern and are very helpful in adding valuable response on platform with character limitations such as Twitter. However, it has also been noted during the research that when it comes to creating memes, it is of course not as popular as sharing memes. Not even 1/3 of the respondents have said that they are interested or they create memes. But when it comes to sharing, it is a phenomenon fact for 100% of the respondents. I can see some young students and I guess all of them use it, right? Yes or no? Yes, we all. Even I do use. Conclusion. Meme is devoid of any language barrier and reaches people faster and goes viral easily and effectively. An emoji, on the other hand, is more used as a substitution for exclamatory sentences or statements. The overall analysis of the study reveals that young users of social media find animation, memes, and emojis can cross linguistic barrier and reach many more users effectively and conveying their thoughts and have a lasting effect on our memory. They are powerful tool of self-expression as a meme and emoji can express 3D emotions. Now, I quote this word I have got from the youngsters only with whom I have conducted the interviews, the focus groups, and they have only told me the very term 3D emotions. Unlike with words, gestures, postures, eye language, and facial expression. It also restricts, another thing, it's a diplomatic tool also, because it also restricts the verbal battle of words with the haters. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Madam, number of total respondent in your study?
32. 17 plus 15.
And from the private institutions.
Private
Then why you consider these 32 respondents from the private institutions are the proper representative of total populations?
No, it's not a proper representation. But then since it's a focus group interview, I had to narrow down my structure. The sample size was also limited.
So
I had to look for
it is not an one-to-one interview, it is the focused.
focused in 3 different groups. In 3 different groups.
3 different groups. So whether you used any control process or...
Yes, I had a proper questionnaire that I had made. Can I read out the question?
No,
Okay.
just still.
Okay.
Just you have some questionnaire.
Yeah. And after the collection of the data was transcribed and it was segmented to actually fit into the
And
research question.
my last question, why you consider only the private academic institutions?
It was more like a convenient sample for me.
Thank you. Open confession. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And next, Trisha Das, she is also from Sister Nivedita University. Another narrative of social media. Trisha, directly go to your objective, followed by basic findings, justification, and conclusion. And ma'am, you try to incorporate the psychoanalysis. Without psychoanalysis, impossible to reach your... Okay. Yes, from discourse to psychoanalysis. One is the felt emotion, another is the displayed emotion through emoji. Trisha,
Yes.
please. In future, Trisha, I am requesting not to use the word revolution in your headline.
Okay.
It's a kind of comment.
Okay,
Because
sir.
hashtag is able to made a revolution. It seems. We don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Please carry on.
Hello? Okay. Am I audible? Yeah.
You are very much audible, please.
Yeah, this mic doesn't work with me. Good afternoon, everyone. As it's evident from my title and as I said, so I'm going to talk a bit about resistance, a bit about activism, and as we are shifting professional codes, a lot about media's role in it. So activism in the pre-digital age was primarily organized around physical spaces like public squares, streets, and meeting halls, and communicated through speeches, pamphlets, and organized events. However, the rise of the internet and social media has shifted activism into the digital realm, along with expanding the potential for transnational engagement and helping to create a shared collective consciousness. Social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook have become central to contemporary protests, offering spaces for both grassroots movements and global campaigns to thrive. Through these platforms, activists...
Trisha, come first you mention your objectives. Okay. Then basic findings and
Yes, I'll come to that.
conclusion. What's your objective? First read what about your objectives.
I have a very small paper. It will take just 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay, please. Then, okay, carry on.
Yeah.
So activists communicate directly with their audiences, bypassing traditional media gatekeepers while ensuring that their messages are seen by millions globally. A single image can encapsulate the ethos of an entire movement. If we consider the image of Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the national anthem to protest racial injustice and police brutality in America, or the viral videos of anti-government protests in Hong Kong, such imagery transcends language barriers and can evoke strong emotional responses from global audiences, driving solidarity and creating a shared sense of purpose. Hashtags are words or multi-word phrases that categorize content and track topics on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and other social media outlets. Hashtags are preceded by the hashtag symbol. It functions as tools that enable movements to gain visibility, build momentum by aggregating content around specific issues. They are also instrumental in creating a collective narrative, giving cohesion to movements that might otherwise be fragmented across different digital spaces. The hashtag #MeToo, for example, began as a localized movement but quickly gained global traction. Under the same hashtag, individuals from around the world were able to share their experiences of sexual harassment and assault, giving visibility to an issue that had long been marginalized. Similarly, the Black Lives Matter hashtag has been pivotal in highlighting systematic racism and police brutality in the United States, also gaining traction in countries like UK, Canada, and South Africa. The Bring Back Our Girls campaign, which called attention to the kidnapping of schoolgirls by Boko Haram in Nigeria, mobilized international attention to local issues, with prominent figures like Michelle Obama participating in the movement. This international visibility put pressure on local governments to act, demonstrating the power of digital platforms in transcending local authorities. In India, hashtags such as #MeTooIndia and Justice for Nirbhaya have been instrumental in highlighting sexual harassment to caste-based violence. Similarly, during Hathras rape case in 2020, hashtags like Justice for Manisha, Dalit Lives Matter became rallying points for protest against the brutality faced by Dalit women in India. The India Against Corruption movement leveraged social media to bring attention to government corruption. The movement gained momentum, contributing to the significant political changes, including the formation of the Aam Aadmi Party. Similarly, the Citizenship Amendment Act (CAA) protests that erupted in 2019 also exemplify the power of digital platforms in modern-day activism. Hashtags like No CAA, Reject CAA, and Shaheen Bagh became rallying points for people who oppose the law. During the Shaheen Bagh protest, the image of primarily Muslim women sitting peacefully for months in cold, protesting against the CAA, became a powerful symbol of resistance. The digital era has fostered the emergence of new subjectivities and social formations. In traditional activism, identity was often tied to physical spaces and organizations. In contrast, digital activism allows for more fluid and decentralized identities. Individuals can participate in movements without having to commit to a specific group or ideology. This flexibility allows for the creation of broad coalitions that can unite around a single issue, without requiring uniformity or in all aspects of political belief. Moreover, digital platforms provide space for the formation of new social movements that are leaderless or horizontal in structure. Movements like Ho Kolorob and Justice for RG Kaur have thrived in the digital era precisely because they reject traditional hierarchical models of organization. Instead, these movements rely on collective action and decentralized leadership, with social media as the primary tool for coordination and communication. In the context of digital activism, Ho Kolorob on the streets and the hashtag Ho Kolorob on the social media became pivotal elements of a student movement that initially emerged on a college campus, expanded online, and later returned to the streets of Kolkata in a mass demonstration. The movement began when students at Jadavpur University initiated a protest on 10th September, which continued for over 150 hours. The phrase Ho Kolorob, derived from a song by Bangladeshi musician Shayan Chaudhuri Arnob, unexpectedly evolved into the movement slogan. Protesters deliberately refrained from using violent or aggressive slogans, instead seeking to draw attention to their cause through non-violent means. The hashtag Ho Kolorob, which was initially used by a small group of protesters at Jadavpur University, soon went viral, significantly amplifying the movement's reach. The Ho Kolorob Facebook page, created on 19 September, rapidly amassed over 50,000 likes, managed by engineering students from a different university. The administrators expressed surprise at engaging over 42,000 individuals within just 4 days, attributing this swift success to impact of social media and digital networks. Another recent event.
Trisha, concluding remark.
Yes, I'm on
Come
my
your concluding remark, please.
Yes, I am on my conclusion.
Thank you.
Another recent event occurring on August 9 has mobilized both ordinary citizens and medical professionals in a unified just demand for justice and accountability from the government. With hashtags such as hashtag justice for RG Kaur and hashtag justice for Tilottama, social media has played a pivotal role in the movement's visibility and reach, becoming rallying points for online supporters. Led by a resolute contingent of medical professionals, the protestants have garnered widespread solidarity from diverse social groups. The digital mobilization that culminated beforehand transferred itself into public spaces at the stroke of midnight on India's 78th Independence Day. The candlelight protest initiated by the social media campaign for, quote unquote, from women's independence on the midnight of independence, transformed virtual activism into a powerful physical presence. The protesters' action represented a collective effort to hashtag reclaim the night and reinforce their demands for justice. In the initial stages of protest, 3 primary locations were designated, but as the movement progressed, participants mobilized from their homes to support protest at various additional sites. At Vishwabangla Gate in New Town, the turnout was so substantial that residents found it difficult to remain indoors, creating a formidable display of collective determination. In conclusion, the effectiveness of social media hashtags has been pivotal in mastering support for contemporary movements, bridging online engagements with real-world action. However, the digital divide represents significant challenges as marginalized communities in the global south often lack the necessary infrastructure and resources to participate fully. Moreover, social media platforms are not neutral. Factors such as algorithms, censorship, and surveillance can influence the visibility and impact of activist content. Thus, while digital activism offers powerful tools for engagement, its effectiveness is uneven and shaped by access disparities, platform biases, and varying political context. Nevertheless, continued innovation and advocacy can help overcome these barriers, fostering a more inclusive and equitable landscape for activism. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Utshab Ganguly and Devobroto Mitra. Devobroto Mitra is here? No. So, you are the last. Thank you. Thank you, Trish. Sorry, Devdatta Mitra. You. Oh, sorry. Please come. So, first is Utshab Ganguly. Trisha, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So, Trisha, students, I hope. This is scholar. Utshab, within 10 minutes, please.
Slide হবে না? হ্যাঁ, এখানেও দিয়েছি, নাহলে নিতে পারিস।
But Trisha, uni toiri hosh, when you mention the word advocacy, be careful. It's a very powerful word in the communication frame. Okay, first you reframe your whole thing. Just to try to reframe. The basic methodology are required, everything are required here. And finally, when you want to use the word media advocacy, means your whole paper reads some strategies of media advocacy through hashtag. Just 2 or 3 case studies are enough to build up the media advocacy. Enough for one research paper. Okay, just you want to publish one research paper for journal. So 2 or 3. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, sir. My paper is the intersection of artificial reality, communication, and forensic investigation in law. So before I start, there's something like in most of the movies and everything, we have seen that they are always shown that cases are coming and going, the evidence is not available and everything is there. So if there is one option that somewhere we can use the artificial reality or the virtual reality which can show the evidence in such a way that the jury or the judge can go into the crime scene or can have a overview of how the crime scene looked. Then the judge or the jury or the other persons who are trying to get the judgment for us, it will be much more easier for them. So we are talking about that. It is not a future thing, it's happening. We, in many cases, it is there. In evidence, we use DNA profiling. So in DNA profiling, the AI has been used. The evidence can be showed to the judges and everything by AR or virtual reality. So artificial reality is where the things can be made up, and virtual reality is a imaginary place. So enhancing communication through AR and VR is a part of the legal system now, and it's a part where the mass communication and the law, or the media and the law, can go hand to hand. We can see the role of AR and VR in forensic investigation. Evidence visualization. A primary application of AR and VR in forensic investigation. In evidence visualization, traditional evidence presentation methods often depend on two-dimensional representation or physical reconstruction. AR and VR offer a more interactive and immersive experience, allowing investigators and jurors to examine crime scenes in 3 dimensions. That we see the movies and everything in VR sets. If the AR or VR can be set up in such a way that the jury can see the crime scene in total, they can understand how the crime and how the evidence that has been collected can help the judgment. In the same way, the training and simulation, the crime scene reconstruction, all is the part of that. Now we will see how it has been used. Like this Broward County case involving VR. The VR goggles for jurors. In a recent case in Broward County, Florida, a motion was filed to allow jurors to use VR goggles to immerse themselves in a 360-degree view of a supposed crime scene. The defense strategy, the defense lawyer, Kane Podowitz, aimed to provide jurors with an experimental understanding of the events leading to an alleged car accident, hoping that this immersive approach would lead to greater comprehension of the incident and counter the prosecutor's narrative. Clarifying the defendant's intentions by allowing jurors to virtually explore the scene, the defense sought to clarify the defendant's intentions, potentially influencing the jury's outlook on the matter. This was the first case which VR was introduced. Then there was a case in California where there was a case of historical background. That is in a case of 1992, where the history was involved, but that cannot be seen through the evidence or a written thing. So virtually it was reconstructed so that the jury can see it. And the first person perspective was used. Impact on the decision making was enhanced or manipulated through this VR. There was another case in Germany where the VR reconstruction was used for counter-argument on the judicial, and it was like the VR model was created to counter the defense argument of a former SS guard, demonstrating that he could indeed see the area where atrocities took place. So this can be a helpful tool for upcoming our law and mass communication hand to hand that can lead us to somewhere we can help the judicial decision making. We will be shortly coming
Peter, come to your conclusion.
Yeah, that's what
These are the
in
two important
India
case
it
studies.
is it is been also being used. Whereas in India, there is a market growth, government initiatives are there. DNA profiling, digital forensics, and imaging techniques are used with AI, and it is helping with AR and VR also. The AI technologies, NCRB, there's a name which maybe many of us know when we are talking about statistics. So NCRB's has introduced a thing that is called automated fingerprint identification system. This is a part of the AI system first introduced to a governmental thing where everybody's our fingerprint can be cross-checked with the evidences. So this is another thing there where Justice case Puttaswamy versus Union of India recognized that right to privacy as a fundamental right, stipulating that any invasion must follow a legal framework that is just, fair, and reasonable. Because whenever we talk about AR, VR, or AI in any sphere, there is one basic challenge, or the ethical challenge that we will be talking in other part, but there is no time, so we will be not jumping it. So there is a one basic problem there is ethical of that our privacy is being manhandled or somewhere. So, but our justice.
So please come to your conclusion.
Yeah, that's my conclusion. That's what we are coming. So basically, our privacy is not above anybody's justice, or not getting. It cannot be hindrance in between our justice. So AR VR cannot be just said that it is very vulnerable stage to use AR VR or AI in any part or any communication along with law. So just by saying that the privacy of that person or anybody's privacy is going to be hindrance. So that's the thing we should be talking about, something much like it has to be a balancing innovation and privacy. Means there should be a responsible development and use. Without that, we cannot go. This AR and VR in the law sector, and it has to come, and it has to be a part which will help us to create much more judgments in a speedy way and in a proper manner. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last presenter today in this session, we welcome Devdatta Mitro, and she's also from Sister Nivedita University. Devdatta, please. No, sir, already well, please. Devdatta. Sir, after completing the session, please. Please, sir, please. Thank you. Hopefully you are from School of Law. Devdatta, directly go to your objectives, then findings and conclusion. Devdatta, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Is my voice audible?
Yeah.
I'm perfectly aware that I'm the last in a rather long list of speakers. So I do understand the paucity of time. I'll try to wrap up my arguments as quickly as possible. So what I plan to discuss is, this is a case study of Judith. A little bit about Judith. She is a mythical figure described in the Bible. So she was a woman who was, to save her people, she went to kill a man. And what I plan to discuss is, there are two painters, Caravaggio and Gentileschi. So both of them have created works of art with a very, very similar tone, which is Judith. I plan to discuss the similarities and differences. We are more interested in the differences because one is a man, another is a woman. Both of them are showing the subject of violence. Moving on from Judith, and both are belong to the Baroque age, which is even more interesting. First, Caravaggio. If one looks at this painting, the bright colors emphasize the Baroque age, yes. But the important thing is, look at the young lady in white. She is committing an act of murder and she is dressed in white. The central focus over here is on the man himself. The light is falling on the man. And the woman is as if shying away from such a deed. She is wearing white, and by contrast, if we look at the old woman, she is shown as she is going to take care of the murder itself, as if she is encouraging her. Here is Caravaggio showing that he, as a man, found it incredibly difficult to accept the idea that a woman could commit an act of murder. Which is why one looks at the focus area, which is over here, of course, the murdered subject. Next, Gentileschi, and of course, our primary area of focus. Same painting, look at the violence over here. Artemisia Gentileschi is one of the most famous female artists of our time. In fact, she has been noted in many, many famous essays such as "Why Have There Been No Great Women Artists?" So over here, Judith is the one who is committing the act of murder. She has the sword. And it is her maid who is helping her. The man, his eyes are averted. Look at the sword itself, and you can see 3 areas of focus. The man, then the maidservant, and of course, the figure dressed in yellow, Judith. The primary focus is the point where the sword hits the man. Now, the reason why I'm discussing this in such great detail is because Gentileschi has been, and this is a very famous point, that Gentileschi has been a victim of rape herself. So when she was 17, she was raped and by one of her father's friends and a teacher. And if we look at the next figure, this is a self-portrait La Pittura of Artemisia Gentileschi, and this is the woman herself, Judith. So look at the similarities in their faces. The act seems as if Gentileschi, who was not given, whose perpetrator walked away from the crimes, a rather public trial at that, she is committing this act of murder as if she is taking revenge on the subject. Many people have pointed out the biographical similarities between La Pittura on the left and Gentileschi on the right. But I do believe that as somebody who is studying art history and as somebody who has studied gender studies, I believe that this is limiting the area of focus and the biographical interest. So what I plan to do is, I don't have much time on my hands, so during my actual research paper, I would like to look at the similarities, dissimilarities, as well as with Caravaggio, and look at its impact when it comes to the fluidity of gender that Judith Butler had talked about. Thank you. I hope that wraps it up.
No, thank you so much. Rather, I want to know some more important, interesting point later. It's a very interesting paper. Anyway, thank you, Devdatta. So, on behalf of the state provides us SNU. On behalf of the platform, I want to share my sincere regards and respect all the paper presenter, my fellow colleagues and the researcher, and beloved students and the volunteers. And one more sentence, I am really privileged to chair this session, to know 10 more different topics with huge topics, illustrations, debate and discussions. So I feel I really privileged for these sessions. Thank you all.
Well, that brings us to the end of our presentation. I would like to thank all the speakers and all the presenter for your thought-provoking papers and for all the audience present. Just to inform all the participants, you are requested to come at the seminar hall tomorrow sharp at 2 a.m. We'll have the valedictory session and the certificate distributions. Thank you.